When the phone rang in the middle of the night, I knew it wasn't good news. Before I picked up, I had a feeling I already knew what it was about. I yawned as I listened to the officer deliver the news I feared. My mother had been found dead in her home, and it looked like a drug overdose was the reason. I quickly dressed and drove to the house where I grew up. Even from a distance, I could see the flashing red and blue lights of emergency vehicles, letting the neighborhood know something was wrong. When I arrived, I saw a couple of police cars in the street and an ambulance parked in the driveway. There were a few other cars around, but I didn't know who they belonged to. My only focus was on my little sister, and as I walked to the front door, she ran out to greet me. "JJ!" My 3-year-old sister jumped into my arms, and I felt a wave of relief knowing she was okay. She had been born after I left home, and because our mom struggled with her problems, Nikki and I became close. We never knew her father, so I tried to be the father figure for Nikki that I didn't have growing up. I had dreams of finishing college and bringing her to live with me so I could give her a better life than what our mom could offer. It seemed my plan might be coming true, even though I wasn't finished with school yet. Balancing school with my job kept me busy, but holding my little sister gave me hope that we would be all right together. Our mom's struggles with addiction were no secret, and even though she tried to get help over the years, she could never fully overcome her issues. My childhood with her wasn't perfect, and I didn't even know who my father was. I suspected my mom got involved with someone who also had problems. Although she attempted to change early on, things didn't improve. I quickly learned to care for myself at a much younger age than most of my friends. By the time I was 8, I often left for school in the morning and wouldn't see my mom again until the next morning, just before school. There were moments when she tried to be better and treat me well. I have no idea how we got by since she struggled to keep a job, and the work she found didn't pay well. I think we received some help from the state, but she never talked about it. Somehow I managed. I drank a lot of water since it was always available, and I learned to save snacks like chips and crackers in my room in case we ran out of food. I didn't have to worry about overeating. There was never enough food for that. With lots of time alone and no TV or internet, I focused on my schoolwork. I worked hard at school because I knew it was my way out of our difficult life. I never had the chance to join any sports since we couldn't afford the necessary gear, but I stayed active through school classes and running around the neighborhood in the summer. As soon as I finished high school, I left my old life behind to start fresh. I found a good full-time job that was perfect for an 18-year-old. With my earnings, I could rent a basement apartment from an elderly couple named Paul and Jeanette Robinson. We made a deal where I helped them with small tasks around their home in exchange for a lower rent. What began as a simple agreement soon turned into a warm relationship. They treated me like the parents I had never really known. Not long after I moved out, my mom found someone new to be around. I don't know who he was, but I saw him once. He didn't seem very stable and didn't talk much, so I didn't engage with him. I think he was Nikki's father, but he didn't stick around when my mom told him she was expecting. I would like to say my mom got better during her pregnancy, but the truth is, I didn't visit her enough to know. I was busy working long hours to save money for college, and even if I had free time, I probably wouldn't have spent it with her. I felt bad, but I was trying to stay away. I thought that if she wanted to see me, it would be for money or other help, and it was easier to avoid her than to say no. Everything changed when Nikki was born. I visited my mom at the hospital that evening. The nurse handed Nikki to me and showed me how to hold her. I cradled her in my arms and immediately loved my little sister. My mom had managed to stay healthy during her pregnancy because Nikki seemed fine. I sat in a chair next to my mom's bed with Nikki in my arms. She looked at me and said, "Jason, I'm sorry for not being a good parent to you. Will you help me be a good mom to Nicole?" I quickly answered, "I will do whatever I can to make sure she has a great life." Mom smiled and said, "I don't know how you did it, Jason. You've turned out so well on your own. I know Nikki will have the best brother." I could see my mom was trying hard. It seemed she really wanted to be a better mother to Nikki than she had been to me. However, I soon realized that when I visited, she would sometimes leave me with Nikki while she went out. I don't believe she ever put Nikki in harm's way, at least until that night. Addiction is tricky. It can pull someone back in very easily. That's what I thought must have happened tonight. I hadn't had the chance to learn how the authorities found out about the situation, but I was grateful they called me. Holding the sweet little girl in my arms, with her head resting on my shoulder, was all that mattered now. I knew that as long as I had her, she would get the love and care she deserved. As she cuddled against me, I asked, "Nikki, what happened to Mommy?" She replied in her soft voice, "Mommy went to sleep and I couldn't wake her up." I gently asked, "Do you know why Mommy went to sleep?" She shook her head no while resting on my shoulder. I guess she was tired. I wanted to ask her more questions, but then I saw a police officer coming my way. When he got closer, he said, "Good evening, sir. I'm Sergeant Ramirez with the Lakeside Police Department. Can you tell me your connection to this little girl?" "Sure, Sergeant. My name is Jason Sellers. Nikki is my younger sister. Rhonda is my mother." "Yes, Mr. Sellers. I believe your little sister calls you JJ. She's been asking about you since we arrived. Do you have some ID with you?" I wasn't surprised they needed that, considering the people I knew my mom associated with. "I do. It's in my back left pocket, but I don't want to put Nikki down to get it. May I allow you to take my wallet from my pocket and find the ID?" He thought for a moment. "Normally, we can't do that. But since you've given permission and under the circumstances, I will make an exception." "Thank you, Sergeant. When you open it, the ID is the first card in the left pocket." My jeans were old and loose, so he had no trouble getting my wallet. He opened it and found my driver's license quickly. He handed me my wallet and went to do a check on my ID. Nikki had stopped moving and I thought she might be asleep. It was warm on that July night, so I wasn't worried about her getting cold. I wanted to know how someone found out to check on my mom. I hoped Sergeant Ramirez could help with that. I saw him come back from his patrol car. He said, "Your ID checks out, Mr. Sellers. If you agree, I can put it back in your wallet and give it back to you." "I agree, Sergeant." He did just that, sliding the card back into my wallet and placing it in my pocket. Once he was done, I decided to ask him some more questions. "Sergeant, how did the police know to come and check here tonight?" "Dispatch got a 911 call at 1:45 a.m. from a driver passing by your mother's house. The driver reported seeing a little girl coming down the neighbor's steps and crossing the lawn to her own house. When the first officer got there, he knocked on the front door, but it was open. He went inside and called out to see if anyone was there. That's when Nikki came to greet him and led him to where your mother was found. He checked for a pulse and noticed that rigor mortis had begun. It looked like she had been in bed for a long time. The medical examiner will tell us when she passed." I asked, "So it's likely that Nikki has been alone for a while?" Sergeant Ramirez nodded. "Nikki seems to be really smart and confident for her age. I think she figured out she couldn't wake your mother, so she went to the neighbors for help. We will talk to them in the morning to see if they heard her, but I doubt they did." Before I could respond, we saw a car pull up and a woman got out. I didn't recognize her. She walked toward us, looking tired and a bit disheveled. If she had been awakened unexpectedly, it made sense she would look like that. I probably didn't look so great either. The woman stopped in front of us. She was short, under 5.5 feet tall, with hair cut straight, sitting just above her shoulders. She wore wire-rimmed glasses. "Gentlemen, I'm Lisa Welch from the Department of Children and Families. Nikki is one of my clients." She turned to me and asked, "You are?" "I'm Jason, Nikki's brother and Rhonda's son." "Ah, the well-known Jason. I've heard a lot about you from both Nikki and your mother. It's surprising I've never met you, especially since I've been Nikki's case supervisor for almost 2 years. I felt like I was being put on the spot by this serious woman. "Did you think that maybe I helped Mom with Nikki when you weren't available? Taking care of a child is more than just a job. There were many times I would see Nikki, and my mom would go out, sometimes for a night. Nikki knows I love her and would do anything for her. That's why I'm here tonight." She sighed and looked down. "I'm sorry, Jason. I didn't mean to sound harsh. Nikki is doing well, even with her situation. I needed to know she had support beyond my visits. Thank you for being there for her." "It's okay. I understand you're probably tired and dealing with a lot right now. I'm feeling the same way." Sergeant Ramirez then spoke. "Do you think Nikki might answer a question or two for me? I'd like to know if she saw anyone in the house today before her mother passed away." I said, I think she might be able to if I can wake her up enough to listen. Ms. Welch, what do you think? We both looked at her. She's a very smart young girl. I think she could tell us something. If she's close to Jason, he might be the best person to ask her. Sergeant Ramirez agreed with a nod. I began the tricky task of waking my sister. Nikki, can you wake up for a few minutes? I'm tired, JJ. I know, sweetheart, but we need to ask you a couple of questions. Did you know someone was here to see you? That got her attention. She lifted her head and noticed Ms. Welch. Ms. Lisa, my mommy wouldn't wake up for me. I tried. Ms. Welch replied, I know, Nikki. You did a great job taking care of yourself while she was resting. I'm proud of you. I was impressed by her response. Even though I wasn't happy about the previous accusation, her kindness towards Nikki changed my view of her a bit. I turned back to my little sister. Nikki, did someone come to visit Mommy before she went to sleep? Yes. Do you know who it was? She nodded. Honey, what was that person's name? It was Shooter. He came to see Mommy. He makes me go to my room and shut the door until Mommy comes to get me. I looked at Sergeant Ramirez, who nodded. That sounds like Darren Anders. We think he's a local drug dealer, but we haven't been able to prove it yet. I have a feeling that's about to change. I'll be right back. Sergeant Ramirez walked away, talking into his radio. I turned back to Nikki. Did this Shooter guy ever hurt you, or was he just mean? He pushed me down once and I cried, but Mommy yelled at him to stop. She was really mad. He likes to yell at me to go to my room, so I try to stay out of his way. Did you stay in your room for a long time, waiting for Mommy? She nodded again. I had to go to the bathroom. I'm a big girl now, so I sneaked out of my room very quietly. When I was done, I peeked into her room and saw Mommy sleeping in her bed. I tried to wake her up, but I couldn't. I hugged her tightly, worried she might think it was her fault that Mom didn't wake up. Welch praised her, and I wanted to do the same. Nikki, you did a really good job. I'm so proud of you for taking care of yourself. Did you try to get help from Mr. Sam and Mrs. Louise next door? Yes, but I couldn't reach the doorbell. I knocked really hard, but they didn't wake up either. I hugged her even tighter. That was very smart, Nikki. You knew they could help you, so you asked them. You're such a smart girl. Nikki then looked at Ms. Welch and asked, Ms. Lisa, are you going to help Mommy wake up? I could see that Ms. Welch was unsure how to answer. She looked at me with some worry in her eyes. I was also trying hard to find the right words to tell a 3-year-old that her mother wouldn't be coming back. I knew I had to say something. Nikki, Mommy isn't going to wake up. She got very sick and we won't see her anymore. Is she in heaven? Yes, Nikki. Mommy is in heaven. That makes me sad because I miss her already. She thought about what I said, and for a moment I wished I could know her thoughts. After a moment she said, I'm sad too, JJ. Does that mean I will stay with you now? I smiled and hugged her gently. Yes, you will. We'll be best friends, okay? She hugged me back tightly. Best friends. We'll have so much fun together. She didn't let go, and I wondered if she was getting sleepy again. She really deserved to rest after everything that happened. As I held her, I tried to figure out how to get Nikki home. I turned to Ms. Welch and asked, Do you think I can get Nikki's car seat from her mom's car? I need it to take her to my apartment. You don't need to do that. I have a car seat in my car. I always keep one in case a child needs supervision. I came prepared just in case I had to help. That's really thoughtful of you, Ms. Welch. I think I might need your help as I learn to be a parent. She smiled at me kindly. I'm not going to stop helping Nikki until I see you can be a good parent. And please, call me Lisa. Okay, Lisa, but you have to call me Jason. Her smile turned into a playful expression. You mean I can't call you JJ? This made me laugh, which I really needed. You can if you want, but then you'll have to deal with me like a 3-year-old. She laughed and went to get the car seat from her car, but then halted when she saw Sergeant Ramirez coming back to us. He looked at Nikki, peacefully resting in my arms, her head on my shoulder. Is she asleep again? I nodded. He looked at me, then at Lisa. We found Shooter. He has passed away in his house. As a precaution, we're declaring your mother's house a crime scene. I think if Shooter was a drug supplier, he may have given your mother something harmful before using it himself. We'll need toxicology reports to confirm that. I wasn't ready to hear this. Does that mean I can't get any clothes or other things for Nikki tonight? I don't have any of her things in my apartment. Sergeant Ramirez nodded. The crime scene team will come in the morning to process the house. I think you can get into the house tomorrow evening, but if fentanyl was involved, we need to make sure everything is clean. I was about to say something when I felt Lisa's warm hand on my arm. I looked at her and saw genuine care in her eyes. Jason, I can take you to my office tonight. I have some clothes that should fit her, and I can give her a couple of stuffed animals for comfort. If you think you'll be okay with her tomorrow, can I visit you after work at 5? There's some paperwork I need to finish, and I want to see where she'll live to see if there's anything else she needs. I started to worry about the upcoming weeks and months ahead. I wasn't ready for all this. But I truly appreciated Lisa's promise to help us through this tough time. I'm sure we will be there. I'll give you the address. Just so you know, it's a basement apartment with a side entrance that's hard to spot from the street. You'll need to call me when you get there. I turned back to Sergeant Ramirez. Are you done with me tonight? It seems I still have a lot to do before I can get Nikki into a real bed. He paused for a moment and then said, There's one more thing I need you to do, and I know it's not easy. I need you to come in and identify the body. Please be careful not to touch anything. Lisa stepped closer and held out her arms. I carefully handed Nikki to her, making sure I didn't drop her. Nikki lifted her head slightly before resting it on Lisa. Once they were settled, I followed Sergeant Ramirez into the house. The first thing I noticed was the smell. The living room was a mess, with trash and dirty clothes everywhere. The trash can was overflowing, and dirty dishes filled the table and sink. It was worse than I'd ever seen. It looked like Mom had given up, and I had missed signs that could have helped her. Before we went into her bedroom, Sergeant Ramirez turned to me. I want to warn you that this will not be easy, and you can leave once you've identified her. I nodded, readying myself for what was next. He stepped aside and let me into the bedroom. There she was, lying on the bed in an old sleeping gown. I noticed an expression of pain on her face. It felt like she suffered a lot. A tear rolled down my cheek as I thought about how hard her life had been. It was never easy, especially when your biggest struggle is an addiction. In the end, it seemed that struggle had taken her too soon. I've seen enough, I said, looking at Sergeant Ramirez. That's my mother, Rhonda Sellers. He nodded, and we carefully made our way back outside. On the small front porch, he stopped me. I'm sorry you had to do that, Mr. Sellers. Could you give me your phone number? I'll keep you updated on our investigation and let you know when you can get your things from the house. After I gave him my number, he placed a hand on my shoulder. I'm very sorry for your loss. If there's anything we can do, don't hesitate to ask. I thanked him and walked over to where Lisa was still holding Nikki. She passed her back to me, and we headed to our cars. Lisa took out the car seat and opened the back door on the right side of my car. It took her a few minutes to secure it properly. I gently placed Nikki inside and watched as Lisa showed me how to buckle her in. Nikki didn't wake up at all. I had a feeling she would sleep well into the morning. I closed the car door softly. Lisa then said, If you can follow me to my office, I'll get some clothes for her that will help until you can return to your mother's house. With little traffic at this late hour, it was easy to follow Lisa to her office. She got out of her car and motioned for me to stay in mine. She was gone for about 5 minutes. When she came back, she had a bag that I guessed was filled with clothes for Nikki. I rolled down my window to take the bag. There are 3 outfits in there for her. I also added some cereal that I know she likes, along with fruit cups and snack bars. I'll come to see you when I finish work this afternoon, probably around 5:15 unless something comes up. Before she could pull her hand back from the car, I took it and gave it a light squeeze. Thank you, Lisa. Even with my mom's issues, Nikki seems happy and well-adjusted. I think you played a big role in that. She clearly likes you, and that makes me happy. She's a very special child, Jason. She has done well despite the challenges in her life. I will do all I can to help you with her. Please let me know if you need anything for you or for Nikki. I'll see you later. It felt good to know that Lisa was willing to help. I wasn't ready to be a parent, but I had no choice. I sensed I would be reaching out to Lisa many times as I tried to navigate this new situation. The next morning, My watch read 9:27 when I finally opened my eyes. Nikki was still sleeping beside me. I didn't have anywhere else for her to sleep for now. To keep her from falling off, I had built a wall of pillows on the edge next to her. I wasn't sure if it would work, but I had tried my best. I had emailed my boss the night before, explaining what had happened and that I would likely need some extra time off. I worked as a delivery person for a furniture and appliance store, which fit well with my school schedule. I had just finished my junior year at the local college, studying business management, with plans to take the CPA exam after I graduated. That might have to wait now that I was responsible for Nikki. I had saved money each year for my tuition, so I wouldn't be overwhelmed with loans when I graduated. Now, that money would need to be spent on things Nikki would need to live with me. I knew there was furniture at my mom's house, but I felt it would be better for Nikki to have new things. After looking through Mom's house the night before, I wasn't sure if the old furniture could be cleaned to my satisfaction. At some point, I would need to figure out what to do with everything in the house. My mom's car wasn't worth anything, and it would cost too much to fix. My car wasn't new, but it was dependable and clean. I also realized I would be responsible for Mom's funeral expenses. I planned to have her cremated as that was the least expensive option. I wasn't sure if a funeral would be needed, as I didn't know if she had any friends, and if she did, they were likely from her past choices. It was sad to reflect on her life. I couldn't change what had happened, even though I had tried to help her. Nikki started to wake up about 20 minutes after I got up. I wanted to be there when she opened her eyes because I thought it might be a little scary for her to be in a new place. She had spent the night with me before, but I wasn't sure if she remembered those times. I sat on the floor next to her bed. She blinked a few times before her eyes opened enough to see me. In a sleepy voice, she said, "JJ." I climbed into the bed next to her and gave her a hug. "Good morning, Nikki. You're at my apartment. This will be your new home. Did you sleep well?" "Yes, it was nice. But I don't remember coming here." "That's because you were asleep when we arrived. You slept in the car seat and again while I carried you inside. You were really tired." She giggled. "I was. I need to go potty, JJ. I'm a big girl. I can do it by myself now. Can you show me where the bathroom is?" I took her hand and helped her out of bed. My apartment was small, so it didn't take long to find the bathroom. Before she went in, I asked, "Do you want to have breakfast first? Or do you want to wash up?" She put a finger on her mouth, thinking. "I think I'm hungry. Can I have breakfast first?" "Of course. While you're in the bathroom, I'll see what we have." I was glad Lisa had packed some cereal last night. I wasn't a big cereal eater, but if Nikki wanted some, it was good to have. I also had some milk that was still good. "JJ, I'm done." "Okay, Nikki, do you need any help?" She confidently walked into the kitchen, looking like she had everything under control. "No, I just wanted you to know." I showed her the cereal choices, and she picked one. She nodded when I asked if she wanted milk on it. I went to find her a spoon, but realized none were the right size for a 3-year-old. "Nikki, can you use a bigger spoon this morning? I'll get some smaller ones later." "I am a big girl, JJ. I can pee by myself." I watched her try to handle the big spoon for a few minutes. She figured out that she didn't need to fill it all the way. Once she learned to take smaller bites with the spoon, she did really well. We made it through breakfast. I laid out the clothes Lisa had given me last night and let Nikki choose what to wear. I gave her a quick wash because I wasn't sure when she had last had one, and I thought it would be a good idea. We were all set for the day. I knew we had to visit the Robinsons and let them know what had changed. I didn't think they would mind Nikki living with me, but they should know. I wasn't sure if Nikki understood my living situation, but she was curious about how we exited the side of my basement apartment to reach the front porch. She waited patiently as I knocked on the door. Jeanette answered, "Well, hello, Jason. It's so nice to see you. And look at the lovely little girl with you. Please come in." They were the kindest people I ever knew. Every time I visited, they made me feel special. The partnership we shared helped both me and them. I received a break on my rent while knowing I was doing things for them that they couldn't do on their own. Whether they realized it or not, they showed me how meaningful it was to care for others. They trusted me even when they didn't have to. By the time we entered the room, Paul had stood up. He came over and shook my hand first, then offered his hand to Nikki. She seemed a bit unsure, but I smiled and nodded at her, showing her that she was with friendly people. Paul's face lit up when she shook his hand back. We all sat down, they in their chairs and Nikki and I on the couch. "Paul and Jeanette, this is my sister Nikki. She will be living with me now. Our mother passed away last night." "Oh, Jason," Jeanette said. "I'm so sorry to hear that. Please let us know if there's anything we can do for you." They were so kind. "Thanks. It will take some time to sort things out, but I wanted to let you know. There will likely be some visitors to my apartment in the next few days because of a police investigation about her passing." Paul spoke next. "I'm sorry you have to go through all this." He looked at his wife. "I wonder if we could help by watching this sweet little girl sometimes." Nikki had been listening closely, and she looked at Jeanette just like Paul and I did, waiting for her response. "I think that's a wonderful idea. It's been a long time since we've had little ones around. Our grandkids live far away, so this would feel like having a new grandchild." She turned to Nikki. "Nikki, how old are you?" Nikki smiled and said, "I'm 3 years old. I can go to the bathroom by myself. And I ate my cereal this morning with a big spoon." With her answer, Paul and Jeanette smiled back at her. "You are such a big girl. I think Paul and I would love to watch you. I bet your grandparents are very proud of you." Before I could reply, Nikki said, "I don't have any grandparents. Maybe you could be my grandparents." I knew it was my turn to speak. "Nikki, let's let them get to know you first before we decide that." Jeanette gave me a gentle scold. "Oh, Jason." Then she looked back at Nikki. "Would you like it if you called me Grandma Jeanette and him Grandpa Paul?" "Yes, I would love that." Nikki jumped off the couch and ran over to give Jeanette a big hug, then did the same for Paul. While she hugged Paul, I turned to Jeanette. "Please let me know if she is too much to handle. I think she's very mature, especially considering what she has been through, but I don't want to put you in tough situations." She waved her hand softly. "I don't see anything that seems too difficult. It will be nice for me and Paul to have someone with energy around." I looked over and saw that Nikki had climbed into Paul's lap. Jeanette was watching too. She turned to me and said quietly, "We've missed this with our own grandkids. It will be nice to have Nikki nearby." In that moment, Nikki had found some grandparents. I promised myself not to rely on them too much for help with Nikki, though it looked like everyone would benefit from this arrangement. It was comforting to know they were there, especially since I had no idea what the next month would be like. After that, we left the Robinsons and went shopping. I took Nikki to the grocery store to see what kind of food she liked. Nikki found some things she said our mom used to get her, but they weren't healthy at all. It made me think that our mom cared more about making Nikki happy than about the food she should be eating. It reminded me of when I was younger and would hide food like cereal, crackers, and chips in my room for when Mom wasn't home. Our next stop was to get Nikki a Happy Meal. She told me she had eaten many of those before. Since she often asked for snacks and enjoyed Happy Meals, I realized it might be a challenge to help her eat healthier. After we ate, we went shopping for her some new clothes. I didn't want to buy too much in case there was something at Mom's that she could still wear. If I thought there was even a slight chance an item wasn't worth saving, it would go in the trash. I knew I could wash whatever was at Mom's, but I didn't want to put in the effort if it wasn't needed. We made one last stop at the bank to manage my savings and checking accounts. I moved some money from my college savings into my checking account so I could buy what Nikki needed. By doing this, I understood I wouldn't be able to continue my senior year this fall. Even though I wanted my business degree, Nikki's well-being was my top priority. This was my new normal. I had Nikki safely secured in her car seat and was just closing my door when my phone rang. I saw it was a call from the police department. "Hello?" I answered. "Is this Jason Sellers?" "It is." "Good afternoon, Jason. I'm Lieutenant Samantha Pipes from the Lakeside Police Department. I'm in charge of your mother's case. I wanted to let you know we should finish at the house by tomorrow, and after that you can access it. I'll keep you updated if anything changes." "Okay, Lieutenant Pipes. Have you made any progress in your investigation?" "We're looking into some leads, but I can't share details yet. For your peace of mind, I can tell you it seems your mother wasn't involved in anything serious besides using something illegal. That was a small relief, knowing she wasn't dealing with more dangerous things. It was hard to find good things about her life, but this was one. Thank you, Lutain Pipes. Will someone call me when the house is cleared? Yes, Mr. Sellers, we'll let you know. Have a good day. I ended the call. Even though I didn't look forward to going through Mom's house, I knew it would be easier to do it alone. I noted to ask the Robinsons if they were ready to babysit for the first time. Also, I thought it would be good to talk to Lisa. She might have some useful advice about dealing with a 3-year-old girl. Nikki went down for a nap around 3:00. While she slept, I called my boss to explain what was happening. She kindly told me to take as much time as I needed and to keep her updated if there was anything she could do to help. Nikki's nap lasted about an hour. I wasn't sure if that was right or not, but she seemed happy when she woke up, which felt good. While we waited for Lisa to arrive, we sat together, and I read her a couple of storybooks we had bought earlier. I was glad to see she was trying to follow along with the words. I hoped she would enjoy learning like I did when I was younger, though for different reasons. It was almost time for Lisa to arrive, so Nikki and I went outside to the front sidewalk to wait for her since she didn't know where my apartment door was. We walked back and forth on the sidewalk a few times. I walked while Nikki skipped and jumped around like a bundle of energy. When Lisa arrived to park in front of the house, Nikki spotted her and ran over. Lisa barely stepped onto the curb before Nikki was bouncing up to her. Lisa picked Nikki up, and they shared a warm hug. I knew Lisa had played an important role in Nikki's achievements, and witnessing this moment highlighted how significant she was to Nikki. By the time I reached them, they were already on the sidewalk. Hello, Lisa. I hope you don't mind if I don't greet you with quite the same enthusiasm as Nikki did, I said. She laughed and replied, That's okay, Jason. I doubt I could lift you like I can her. I led her to the apartment door. Maneuvering through the entrance was a bit tricky, so I told Nikki she would have to walk by herself. The outside door opened to a small landing between steps going up and down. The steps going up led to the Robinsons' house, and the ones going down led to my apartment. It was better not to carry anyone in that narrow space. Once inside the apartment, I said to Lisa, Welcome to our home. It felt strange to call it our home since I had never said that before. But I looked at Nikki, who seemed proud to show off her new home to our guest. Lisa looked around and said, Jason, this is quite cozy, isn't it? It's not bad for one person, I replied. But with an active 3-year-old, it might get too small quickly. It'll work for now. Could you think about moving into your mother's house? She asked. I had not considered that, but I knew right away it wasn't a good idea. No. There are a couple of reasons. First, it's a mess, and I'm not sure how bad it is. But more importantly, I don't know how Nikki was treated by my mom's visitors. If I took her back there, it might bring back bad memories, and I don't want to put her through that. I'm surprised it's so messy, Lisa said. I never noticed that during my visits. I was here for Nikki and your mom, not to check the house. It seemed fairly clean each time I came. I understood why. My mom was great at what I call last-minute cleaning. Did all your visits have a schedule so she knew when you would arrive? She nodded. I've seen that before when she was raising me. She would clean like crazy before someone came over. I'm sure she was doing that when you came to work with her and Nikki. I want you to know how much I appreciate all you've done for Nikki, I said. I can only imagine there are people who don't want you to work with their kids, but it's nice to see how much Nikki values you, like she showed me when you arrived. I know your job isn't easy. Lisa smiled and looked down slightly. Thank you, Jason. You're right. I don't often hear a thank you. I usually show up because someone has raised concerns, and they don't want me there. I understand that, so it's nice to hear someone appreciate my work. I was glad I spoke up. Have you always worked with children? I thought it might be tough for someone with their own kids to work with others. I noticed a shift in her mood, and I wondered if I had said something wrong. Then she responded. I don't have any kids of my own, Jason. I can't have children. I guess that lets me give my all to the kids I get to help. I thought she was about to say more, but just then, Nikki came over with a book for Lisa. JJ read this to me this afternoon. Can you read it to me again? I smiled at Lisa when she looked at me. She said, "Sure, Nikki. Let's go sit down and read it together." As they walked into the living room, I called out, "Lisa, do you want to stay and eat with us? I'm making chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, so it's not a fancy meal unless you're Nikki." Nikki laughed, not really knowing what fancy meant. "I'm sure there's enough for you." Before Lisa could reply, Nikki asked, Please stay, Ms. Lisa. JJ is a good cook." Lisa looked at me, and I nodded, agreeing with Nikki. This made Lisa chuckle, and when she said, "Sure, I'll stay," Nikki started clapping and cheering. As I got started on the meal, I kept looking up at Lisa and Nikki. Lisa was sitting cross-legged on the floor with Nikki in her lap. They both looked so happy, and I wondered if Nikki was helping to fill some of the emptiness Lisa might feel since she couldn't have kids of her own. The apartment was small, so I could hear everything they said. Lisa would read a page and then ask Nikki questions to make sure she understood the story. I wasn't sure if she was doing it on purpose or not, but I suspected she knew what she was doing. She seemed to be teaching Nikki without her realizing it. This showed me two things. Lisa was the reason Nikki had done so well despite her challenges with her mom, and I had a lot to learn about being a parent if I wanted to help Nikki grow. I finished cooking and called out, "Girls, dinner is ready." This made Nikki laugh as she looked at Lisa and said, "He called you a girl like me." They both smiled as they came to the small table in the kitchen. I had 3 chairs, but Nikki would have to kneel to eat until I could get her booster seat from her mom's house. She didn't seem to mind, but I explained the plan to Lisa so she wouldn't worry about Nikki's knees. We ate mostly in silence, but Nikki made sure Lisa noticed she was using a big person spoon again, reminding her about breakfast that morning. I watched how much Nikki ate so I could figure out her portion sizes for next time. It seemed that for this meal, 4 nuggets and 3 spoonfuls of mac and cheese were just right. After dinner, Nikki returned to her books. I started finding containers for leftovers. Lisa stood up to help, saying if I found a container, she would put the food away. I appreciated her help and began washing the pan I used for mac and cheese, followed by the cookie sheet for the nuggets. I cleaned one pan and placed it in the dish drainer by the bowl sink. As I started on the cookie sheet, Lisa found a dish towel and began drying it off. She did the same with the other pan. When I finished putting everything away, Lisa turned to head back to Nikki. Before she could move, I reached out and gently held her arm. She looked at me in surprise. "Lisa, I just want to say I'm really sorry that you couldn't have kids of your own. From what I've seen with Nikki, you would have made a wonderful mother to your own kids." I could tell this surprised her because it took her a moment to respond. "Thank you, Jason. Hearing that means a lot to me. I would never wish anyone to have the tough life Nikki had with your mother. But I'm grateful to have worked with her. It has helped fill a gap in my life." We went back to sit with Nikki. Before long, Lisa said it was time to go home. Nikki didn't like this, but I reminded her it was nearly bath time. She complained a little, her first sign of disagreement about my plan. When I offered her 5 more minutes with her books before her bath, she brightened up at that idea. I walked Lisa to the door. "Thanks for coming. I know you have your own life outside of work. I appreciate you giving some of your time for me and Nikki." She laughed softly. "Oh, there's not much happening when I'm not working. This evening has been lovely, and I appreciate your invite." After a moment, I said, "Lisa, Nikki really shines when you are around. I can see how much she cares for you and how happy you make her. You're welcome here any time. I want to learn how to be a better parent, and I know you can help Nikki too. The bond between you two is special." She smiled back. "You might find me here more often than you expect. I love spending time with Nikki, and helping you would be great too." "Good, because I have one more favor to ask. The police called today and said I can go into Mom's house tomorrow afternoon. Would you come with me? I know you'll help me decide what to keep and what to let go. Maybe around 5:15 if that works for you." She smiled and replied, "Of course. I know this won't be easy for you, so I'm happy to help." "Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for everything you do for me and Nikki." I walked upstairs with her to lock the door after she left. Once she was outside, she turned to me and said, "Thanks for a lovely evening. See you tomorrow." I made sure she got to her car safely, and when I went back downstairs, I called to Nikki and we started her bath. Since it had been a busy day, she fell asleep quickly. I took a quick shower before crawling into bed next to her. My last thoughts were that it had been a good evening, and I hoped Lisa could visit again soon. The next morning, Nikki woke up first and quickly got me up too. We enjoyed a bowl of cereal together, and she was happy since I had breakfast before she woke up the day before. After we got dressed, we went upstairs to see Paul and Jeanette again. I asked them if they could watch Nikki, and they assured me they could. When I asked for their help that afternoon while I went to Mom's house, they seemed pleased, and since Nikki was already on Paul's lap, I knew she would be just fine. Around noon, the police department called me to say Mom's house would be ready soon. I arranged to go in around 5:15, knowing that Lisa could accompany me. I trusted her to decide what to keep for Nikki and what to throw away. I called the DCF office and left a message for Lisa, confirming the time for her visit. Nikki took a nap just like she did yesterday. I hoped to start some good routines, and this seemed like it could be the first one. After her nap, we went upstairs so I could leave her with Paul and Jeanette. I could tell they were glad to see us. Jeanette opened the door and said, "Hello, Nikki. We are so happy to see you." Nikki walked right past her into the living room. "Is Mr. Paul here?" she asked. Jeanette smiled and said, "He is. He'll be right out." Then she turned to me and said quietly, "I guess I'm not the main one when Paul is home." Just as Jeanette said, Paul came out of the kitchen, and Nikki rushed over to hug him. Jeanette and I watched as Paul settled into his chair and Nikki sat on his lap. Jeanette turned to me and said, "I know what you're facing won't be easy. Why don't we feed you and Nikki tonight so we can help a bit?" They had always been kind to me during my time in their apartment, so I appreciated this offer. "That sounds great, Jeanette. Would it be okay if I invited someone to join us? Jason, do you have a girlfriend we don't know about?" she teased. I laughed and said, "No, there's no time for that. Nikki's DCF caseworker is coming to check the house with me, and Nikki really likes her, so I thought she could join us for dinner." "Of course, Jason. If she's helping Nikki, then she's a friend of ours." "Thanks, Jeanette. I'm not sure if she will say yes, but I will definitely ask." I turned to say goodbye to Nikki, but she was already absorbed in the story Paul was reading. Jeanette patted my back as I left, saying, "We've got this, Jason." It was nice to know Nikki was safe and loved with them. I arrived at Mom's house just after 5. No one else was there yet, so I waited in my car. It allowed me to think about my time in that house. When I was younger, I didn't realize that not everyone lived like we did. I thought all kids had to be alone for a while or save food in their rooms so they wouldn't be hungry. I looked at the window from my bedroom and remembered how I would sit on my bed, wishing I could be outside having fun instead of being by myself. After a few minutes, a police car arrived, followed soon by Lisa. I got out of my car to greet them. The officer was new to me. He made sure I was the right contact for the family and handed me a key to the front door, explaining that this key came from my mom's key ring. Together, we walked to the front door. The officer removed the yellow tape from the doorframe, along with a sign that warned people the house was a crime scene. I guessed that many neighbors had stopped by to read that sign. I wasn't sure if any of them cared about my mom since she never seemed social. The police officer headed back to his car. Since they had given the house to me, he didn't need to stay. I put the key in the door and turned it, and the door opened. I glanced back at Lisa, who nodded. Whether we were ready or not, it was time to go inside. I opened the door wider and was hit by a strong smell. It was the same bad odor I noticed 2 nights ago, but much worse now. I figured it was the smell of spoiled food, which made sense because the house had been shut up in the hot July sun without any fresh air. I needed to find the source of the smell and get rid of it. The floor wasn't as messy as I had thought before, but the darkness that night might have made it look worse. There were clothes, food wrappers, papers, and some of Nikki's toys scattered about. The curtains on the front window were drawn, probably so people outside couldn't see how messy the inside was. Lisa stepped in next, and I could see her reacting to the smell. Her eyes widened as she looked around the front room. She clearly wasn't ready for this, which I guessed was because Mom usually cleaned up nicely when she knew someone was coming by and ignored the cleaning when no one was visiting. We went into the kitchen next, and it was clear that the smell was coming from there. The trash can was overflowing, and instead of taking the garbage out, it had just been tossed on the floor nearby. The sink was piled high with dirty dishes, many still covered with old food. The table in the corner was just as bad, with food rotting on unwashed plates left there for a while. When Lisa entered the kitchen, it was too much for her. She covered her mouth with her hands and began to cry. I moved over to comfort her, wrapping my arms around her as she leaned her head on my shoulder. She clearly had no idea Mom's house could be like this, and the condition made it hard to believe anyone could live here. After a few moments, she pulled back and looked up at me. "Jason, I'm so sorry. I feel like I haven't done my job. I never imagined it would be this bad. I promise, when I visited, the house always seemed fine." "Lisa, this isn't your fault. You have to understand that Mom knew how to handle things a certain way. Remember I mentioned last night that she was good at cleaning up for visits? Well, she didn't get a chance to clean before she passed away, so this is how it often was, though the smell today is worse than I remember." "What day would you have come to see Nikki this week?" she asked. "I was planned to come today, but it had been a couple weeks since I last visited. I had vacation time to use before July 1st. Maybe that's why the house is such a mess now." That made sense. "This means you were doing your job. When it was time for your visit, Mom would make sure the house looked nice, so your visits definitely helped. Mom knew how to make things look good enough to keep getting help without doing too much. She knew DCF probably wouldn't drop by for a surprise visit, so she didn't worry about cleaning until you were set to come." I hoped that helped Lisa see that within the system, she was doing everything she could for the families. But I wasn't sure if she believed that. She looked back at me and said, "I really struggle knowing that people live like this, and there seems to be so little that I or anyone at DCF can do to help. I'm really surprised at how well Nikki is doing." It was my turn to make things clear to Lisa. "You did this for Nikki. I know it can be hard to see things like this, but you were there for her when she needed someone to care. You gave her hope, even if you didn't know she needed it. You couldn't save Mom, neither could I. Her struggles were beyond anyone's help, but you saved Nikki, and I'm going to make sure she never goes through this again. If anyone let Nikki down, it was me. I should have helped her much earlier. I was so busy with my own life that I didn't pay enough attention to Nikki. I got tired of visiting only to see Mom use that time to go off and do her own thing. I should have realized that Mom saw Nikki as a burden." Lisa hugged me, wanting to comfort me. "Jason, you never really had a childhood. You've always been the adult in your family. All of that has prepared you for this moment when Nikki needs you the most. You're going to take great care of her." She stepped back from the hug. "Thanks, Lisa. I'm not as sure as you are, but I promised Mom when Nikki was born that I'd do everything I could for her." I glanced at the situation before us. "We should decide what we can take tonight, and I'll sort through the rest later." I spotted the booster seat at the kitchen table. It looked like it could be cleaned easily, so I set it aside. I wasn't interested in the rest of the kitchen right now. I could make do with what I had. We entered Nikki's bedroom. Her bed was messy, but I noticed her favorite blanket on it, so I took it. It would need washing before Nikki could use it. I also spotted a few toys that I knew she loved. I realized she didn't have many toys, so I made a note to get her some new ones. Lisa found a few outfits that still seemed okay for Nikki to wear. Other than that, we didn't see anything else safe for her. Lisa chose not to come with me into Mom's bedroom, which was probably wise. It was the worst room in the house. The sheets were off the bed, which didn't surprise me. I didn't open any dressers or closets. I knew I would have to eventually, but I wasn't ready for that just now. I found Lisa in the bathroom, looking through cabinets and shaking her head. "Lisa, I'm ready to leave. There's a lot more I need to deal with, but I can't handle it tonight. I might see if the neighbors upstairs can watch Nikki tomorrow so I can come back and get started. But I need to get out of here." "I think that's a good plan." I picked up the booster seat, blanket, and toys for Nikki, and Lisa took the outfits. As we walked to our cars, I said, "The Robinsons upstairs have invited me and Nikki to dinner tonight. They have a spot for you if you want to come. I know Nikki would love that." "Jason, I'm not sure. That feels like too much. I don't want to be a burden." "You won't be a burden. The Robinsons are the kindest people I know, and they really like Nikki. They wouldn't mind having you join us." She hesitated. "If you're sure, Then I will go. I understand why they're fond of Nikki. So am I. It will be nice to be with her again. When we reached the apartment, Lisa and I brought the things we gathered from Mom's house downstairs. The toys and clothes for Nikki needed to be washed before I let her use them. I wiped down the booster seat the best I could. Lisa was ready with a towel to dry it. When I handed it to her, I said, "We make a pretty good team." She smiled and replied, "Yes, we do." After she finished drying it, we took it back upstairs to the Robinsons' front porch. Jeanette opened the door, and when Nikki saw me, she smiled. But when she saw Lisa, she started clapping and jumped up to hug her. She also insisted on making introductions. "Grandpa Paul and Grandma Jeanette, this is Ms. Lisa. She comes to visit me and we play, read, and talk." They each shook hands with Lisa. Jeanette said, "You're just in time. Dinner is ready." Nikki led Lisa to the table. When I showed Nikki the booster seat, she started jumping with excitement. I placed it on her chair and fastened it securely. While I did that, Nikki told Lisa where to sit next to her. I sat down across from Lisa with Paul at the head of the table and Jeanette on his right side. Dinner was wonderful, just as I expected. Even Nikki was happily eating what Jeanette had prepared. She even baked some brownies, which I discovered Nikki loved. I'm sure that made Jeanette very happy. After dinner, we talked for a few minutes before it was time to get Nikki downstairs for her bath. As soon as I mentioned it, Nikki asked Lisa if she would help her. Lisa looked at me and smiled, and I told Nikki that if Lisa wanted to do that, it was fine with me. We decided to use the inside door in the Robinsons' kitchen that led to the stairs. As we started heading that way, Paul called out to me, "Jason, can you stay for a few minutes? We need to discuss something with you." I looked at Lisa and asked if she'd be okay taking Nikki down to the apartment to start the bath. She replied that she could do that. I gave her the key to my apartment and showed her where the Robinsons' door was, and soon they were gone. I had a feeling this might have something to do with my request for them to watch Nikki. Paul pointed to the couch, and I sat down on the right end, with Paul and Jeanette in their chairs opposite me. Paul started speaking first. "Jason, I can't express how much we've appreciated having you in the apartment. When you first asked about it, I was worried you might not be ready to take care of it or handle the responsibilities I might ask of you, but you've shown us that you are very mature. Having Nikki in our lives has been a wonderful blessing. That's why what we're about to tell you is hard." He paused long enough for Jeanette to continue. "We've been offered a chance to move to a retirement community that is only a couple of miles from where one of our children lives. It's a place that has become available, so other than a few fees, we'll just need to take over the payments. As much as we love both you and Nikki, the chance to be close to grandkids for the first time was something we couldn't pass up. We've accepted, and we plan to move there in the middle of next month." I was trying to understand what they had just said, but it was hard to take in. Finally, I asked, "Do you know if I can stay in the apartment when the new owners take over?" Paul smiled, which seemed a bit strange. "We hope we won't need to find the answer to that question. Jason, we would like you and Nikki to move up here. We will still own the house and you will still pay rent, but it will need to go up some. However, we can work with you if you want to keep things the same." Before I could say anything, Jeanette added, "I know that apartment has been fine for you, but with Nikki now, it will soon feel very small. Moving here would give you much more space, and it would help us feel better knowing our home is taken care of. Plus, the place we're moving into is furnished, so you wouldn't have to worry about getting your own furniture if you didn't want to." From what I knew about the house, it had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, including one in the master bedroom. Although I thought Nikki and I wouldn't need that much space, Jeanette was right. Nikki wouldn't continue sleeping in my bed for long. It would be wise to accept their offer, but before I could respond, Paul spoke again. "You don't have to decide right away, Jason, but we need to know pretty soon, because if you don't take it, we'll have to figure something else out." They said the arrangement was good for them, and I knew it had been good for me as well. Now it seemed even better, and I would be foolish to turn it down. I took a deep breath and said, "You don't need to worry about what to do next. I accept your offer, and I look forward to keeping your house in good shape." We all stood up at the same time, and I hugged Jeanette first, then Paul. I knew the extra rent would mean I had to manage my spending closely, especially with utilities going up. But it would be much better for Nikki, and that was what mattered most. I thanked them again and started to head downstairs. But they called me back. Jeanette stepped forward and said, "One more thing, Jason. It has truly been a joy having Nikki with us. I know you'll need to return to work soon, and when you do, Paul and I would love to babysit Nikki. She's well-mannered and very smart. Think of it as good practice for when we move down and help take care of our grandkids if needed." "Are you sure? I see what you say about Nikki is true, but I worry that she might become more challenging after the newness wears off." Paul replied wisely. "Who says the newness will wear off?" I hoped he was right. I worried that one day Nikki would ask about her mother, and that could bring up tough memories. But for now, I felt she was in good hands with the Robinsons. When I got downstairs, Lisa had already put Nikki in the bath. I stood outside the bathroom door and listened to them. Soon, I heard Lisa singing to Nikki, who tried to sing along. They would stop singing every now and then, laughing together. Suddenly, my heart filled with happiness. I could see how much Lisa meant to Nikki. It was easy to understand why Nikki wanted Lisa to help her with things like baths, reading, or art projects. Nikki may not fully grasp it, but I believed Lisa brought her the stability she needed in her young life. Though Lisa only worked with Mom and Nikki for an hour a week, I imagined it was the best hour for my little sister. At the same time, I could see how Nikki was filling the void in Lisa's heart since she hadn't been able to have children of her own. Lisa mentioned a few more times that she didn't want to bother me and Nikki too much. I worried I was taking up her private time in her own home. However, listening to Nikki and Lisa having fun while she took a bath made me realize that Lisa's earlier words were true. We were all supporting one another. I looked into the bathroom and saw Nikki first. She laughed and waved at me. Lisa was sitting on the floor by the bathtub and both smiled at me. A word came to my mind: family. This was my family. It was different, but it felt good. I hoped this feeling would stay with me. I squatted down beside Lisa, and when they started singing again, I joined in the best I could. I'm not a great singer, and it didn't take long for Nikki to notice. But I didn't mind. It made things even more fun. In the middle of all the singing and laughing, Lisa and I locked eyes. I mouthed "thank you" to her. She smiled and nodded, saying the same thing back. It was a warm moment, and I knew we'd be all right with this unique family we had formed. Nikki and I established a kind of routine by the second week after Mom passed away. It was my last week off from work. I called my boss to check on my shifts. She wanted me to work from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Many deliveries happened in the evening when customers were home, but I wasn't sure how that would fit for us. Lisa was arranging help for Nikki since she was considered at risk. She found a daycare where I could drop Nikki off at 9:30 a.m., but I was unsure how to pick her up since they'd close at 6 ga. The Robinsons had offered to watch Nikki when I returned to work, but I thought daycare was a better choice for her because she hadn't interacted with other kids before. Again, Lisa came through. She offered to pick Nikki up after her work and take her to the apartment, staying with her until I got home. Often, she stayed even later, helping with dinner and getting Nikki ready for her bath. I worried about taking up too much of Lisa's time, but she just smiled and assured me it was fine. I found a lawyer to handle closing out Mom's estate, even though I would have to use my savings to pay for it. I spent most of last weekend cleaning out the house. I discovered a couple of shoeboxes in her closet that held important papers, including the landlord's contact information. Because of that, I managed to reach out to him, and he agreed to help too. I wasn't sure if Mom had paid a security deposit, but I knew it wouldn't cover the repairs needed to make the house livable again. I also found birth certificates and social security cards for both Nikki and me, which I knew would be necessary for the legal steps ahead. Since I was returning to work the next Monday and Nikki was starting at daycare, we decided to enjoy the weekend together. On Saturday, we took a trip to the zoo. Nikki had never been to anything like it. She asked Lisa to join us, and Lisa happily agreed. I was relieved Nikki asked because I was prepared to invite her myself if needed. It was a hot day in late July, so we needed to keep Nikki safe from the sun and heat. We decided to stay as long as she had energy, knowing she would need her nap later. As we walked through the zoo, Nikki took charge and told us to hold hands so we wouldn't get lost. She arranged it so that Lisa was in the middle, with Nikki on her right and me on her left. I wasn't sure if Lisa would like that, so we walked a few steps without holding hands. But Nikki, always paying attention, noticed and said to me in a serious voice, "JJ, hold hands!" I looked at Lisa, who smiled widely. I reached for her hand and said softly, "Sorry, the boss has made the decision." Lisa squeezed my hand and replied, "We must keep the boss happy, but I don't mind at all." We walked together, holding hands. Nikki loved the zoo right away. She jumped up and down every time she saw a new animal. As we got closer, she would let go of Lisa's hand to take a better look. After a few times, I realized I was still holding Lisa's hand when I could have let it go. The next animal that caught Nikki's eye made Lisa realize the same thing. We shared a glance, both knowing we should have let go. But I squeezed her hand, making her smile. It was clear that Nikki had helped us by asking us to hold hands. By noon, Nikki was slowing down. She had used a lot of energy enjoying the zoo. We stopped at a snack bar for hot dogs and chips, plus some cold water. That gave Nikki a little boost, and we continued our adventure with the same excitement as earlier. But soon after, we knew it was time to head back to the car. Just as we reached the gift shop, Nikki fell asleep in my arms. The gift shop was a nice place to be because it was cool inside. We looked around for something special for Nikki to remember her zoo trip. Lisa found a stuffed giraffe wearing a t-shirt with the zoo's name. Since Nikki loved the giraffes, Lisa quickly took it. I started to get my wallet, but Lisa waved me off. She wanted to buy the gift for Nikki. When I put her in her car seat, Nikki woke up briefly. Lisa handed her the giraffe, and she hugged it tightly before dozing off again before we even left the parking lot. On the drive home, Lisa and I talked about our day and how happy we were that Nikki enjoyed it. I thought about getting a membership next year so we could visit more often. Once we got home, I carried Nikki downstairs. She woke up a bit as I laid her in bed, but a hug with her giraffe put her right back to sleep. Lisa followed me inside and shut the doors. I went to the fridge for a bottle of water and brought one for her, too. We sat down on opposite ends of the old couch I'd found when I moved in 5 years ago. I looked over at Lisa and said, "Thanks for coming today. I still feel like I'm taking up too much of your time helping with Nikki, but I know she loved having you with us." Lisa replied with some feeling, "Jason, you really need to stop thinking that. Don't you see? I wanted to be there for her first zoo trip. She will get to see and do so many things with you that she never did before. You've given her a new life, and it makes me happy to see her enjoying it. I'm here because I want to be. I'm here because Nikki is such a special kid, and she brings me so much joy." I smiled at her and said, "I'm glad to hear that, because you're not just helping Nikki. You're helping me, too." "How am I helping you?" I thought for a moment, trying to find the right words. "Please don't take this the wrong way. I've never had a friend like you, Lisa. Throughout school, I didn't really have close friends. I never invited anyone over to my house because I was embarrassed about how we lived. This was true even in high school. I had friends during school hours, but outside of that, I was often home, not sure if my mom would be there that night or not. I thought things might change after I graduated and had my own place. I believed I could keep this apartment nice and maybe invite friends over. But by then, most of the people I could have called friends were busy with college or starting jobs like I was. I worked a lot of hours to pay for my college expenses. I received some scholarships, but I still had quite a bit to cover. Working so much left little time for friends. Actually, when Nikki was born, my personal time got even smaller. I didn't help with her care as much as I wish I had, but I did enough to understand I could have done more. I'm really thankful for everything you've done for her. She's wonderful, and you've played a big role in that." Lisa hadn't moved at all while I was talking. I took a sip from my water bottle and continued. "The other night when you brought Nikki downstairs for her bath, I had a moment of realization. Before you and Nikki saw me, I had been there for a little while, listening to you both talk, sing, and laugh together. For the first time, I felt like I was part of a real family. It wasn't the same as my own, where I often took care of myself because my mom couldn't. Hearing you two together made me feel warm inside. I almost didn't want that moment to end. But then I wanted to join you both, so I let you know I was there, and we kept singing and laughing. It was a wonderful night, One of the best moments of my life. I don't want to put any pressure on you, Lisa, but I feel like you are part of my family. You've brought both Nikki and me so much happiness. I couldn't do this alone, and I'm not sure I can ever repay you. The room was quiet, except for the soft sound of the air conditioner. Lisa took a sip from her water bottle. Jason, don't underestimate yourself. I am really impressed by how you take care of Nikki. I think you could manage it on your own, and I'm grateful you're letting me help. Being with you and taking care of Nikki has brought me more joy than I've had in a long time. I'm sure you can tell that I'm a very shy person. Like you, I didn't have many friends either, but for different reasons. I find it hard to trust people until I've known them for a while. I don't really know why. I had a normal childhood as far as I can tell. I think it's just my nature to be more reserved. I grew up in a small town about an hour from here. I graduated high school with good grades and started college here to study behavioral science. I got my degree and began working for DCF right after college. Through friends, I met my husband, Richard. He was a strong, confident man with big opinions. I thought he would be a good provider, and he said he wanted kids, which had always been part of my plans. We got married when I was 26. At first, everything seemed fine. We got along well, and we understood our roles in the marriage without needing to talk about them. Both of us had good jobs, so we saved money for our life together. He liked his hobbies, but as long as they didn't take away from our needs, I was okay with that. Things started to change when I expressed my wish to have a family. I began to realize that he might not have meant what he said before we got married about wanting children. Eventually, I convinced him it was important to me, and we decided to start trying for a family. I was taking birth control pills at the time, and the day I stopped was one of the happiest days of my life. I knew it could take a while for my body to adjust after stopping the pills. After a year without success, I began to worry. I was 31, and time felt like it was slipping away. To his credit, Richard offered to have his sperm tested. For the first time in a while, I felt he was supporting our plans for a family. He took time off work to get the test done. 2 days later, the results came in. When he got home, he bluntly told me that his sperm was fine and that the issue was with me. It created a lot of tension in our relationship. Over the next few weeks, I tried to bring up getting myself tested to understand the problem. He didn't want to discuss it. It felt like he didn't want me to find a solution to have the children I desired, and that he once claimed he wanted too. One evening at dinner, I asked him again, but he seemed fed up. He hit his hand on the table and raised his voice at me, saying that women's tests were very costly, often didn't work, and he wasn't going to go broke for something that might not help. He left his meal untouched, packed a suitcase, and before he walked out, he told me he wouldn't be burdened with a wife who couldn't have children. I was 33 when the divorce was finalized. He wanted it done quickly, so he didn't fight for the house. He said I could keep it and continue paying for it if I wanted. We split our savings, and he took his truck and personal belongings without looking back. It seemed he wanted to erase all memories of our time together. I felt completely shattered. I was so shy that I doubted I would ever meet someone new. Even if I did, I worried that once they learned I couldn't have children, they would leave. My dream of becoming a mother felt lost, and I sank into a deep sadness. I was lucky to still have my job, but working with kids whose parents seemed distant was hard for me, since I longed for children of my own. From the first time I worked with Nikki, she became the highlight of my week. Even at a young age, she had a spirit that stood out to me. I worked hard with her because I knew her mom faced challenges while raising her. Nikki thrived the more time I spent with her. I'm glad you can see how special she is. I've known it for 2 years now. She paused for a moment, and I noticed she might have wiped a tear from her eye. I stood up to find some tissues, and she took one and gently pressed it to her eyes. When I sat back down, I placed the box next to her. Jason, she said, I'm going to share something I promised myself I wouldn't, but I think you need to know. When I arrived at your mom's house that night, I was ready to start the adoption process for Nikki the very next day. I mistakenly judged you based on how your mother was, and I was scared you wouldn't be able to care for her if your mom couldn't. I made a rude comment that I immediately regretted. That night, I saw a side of you that surprised me. You held Nikki gently while she slept, and you didn't get angry with me. You calmly told me that you cared for Nikki and that you could keep doing it without any worries. I quickly realized that she needed to be with you. I accepted that I would see her for an hour each week, just like before. I was glad to still spend time with Nikki, but I came thinking about adopting her, and I knew that wouldn't happen. Instead, you invited me to share a meal of chicken nuggets and mac and cheese that first night you took care of her. You kept inviting me back. We went out to eat, visited the park. Or like today, I got to be with Nikki on her first zoo trip. Emotion overwhelmed me, so I reached for her hand. After a moment, she held my hand tightly. You said I could never repay you, but you're wrong. It's me who can't repay you. Thank you for letting me be part of your family, Jason. She hugged me, and I wrapped my arms around her. We shared something special, which made us feel closer than ever. When we finally let go, I gently touched her tear-streaked face. Maybe we should start finding ways to help each other. I leaned in and gave her a soft kiss. It surprised her for a moment, but when I kissed again, she kissed back. I felt nervous since I had never kissed anyone before, but it felt nice. Suddenly, Lisa pulled away. Jason, we should not be doing this. Why not? Did I do something wrong? No, it's not that, she sighed. It's just, well, you know. I don't, Lisa. I've never kissed anyone before, but I thought it was nice. She took my hand. It was nice, and I didn't want it to end. But we shouldn't develop feelings for each other. You have your whole life ahead of you. I'm at a different stage. I hadn't thought about that. It surprised me, and I needed a moment to respond. Lisa, I don't even know your age, and honestly, I don't care. What matters to me is the love you show for Nikki, and how happy she and I are to have you with us. That night I saw you with Nikki opened my eyes to how special you are, being part of a family like I always wanted. I see you, not just an older woman. She shook her head. Jason, think practically. How old are you? I'm 23. She covered her face with her hand. When I graduated high school, you were still a baby. Just so you know, I'm not a baby anymore, so that doesn't matter. She chuckled a little at my answer. What will people think when they see us together? This isn't a usual relationship. I said, honestly, I don't worry about what others might think. You say this isn't a usual relationship, but what about our little family is? I'm Nikki's brother, but acting like her father. You're her caseworker, but acting like her mother. So, we don't follow the usual rules of society, but it works for us. Who knows? Maybe some women will look at you and think, how did she end up with someone younger? That made her groan. Oh gosh, this is wild. I took her hand and gave it a light squeeze. There's something I need to share with you. Last week with the Robinsons, they mentioned they are moving to be closer to their grandchildren. They want me to move upstairs into their house to keep taking care of it. As Nikki gets older, we will need more space, and their house will be just right for us. They're leaving in mid-August and won't take most of the furniture. That will help my budget. It's a great opportunity for Nikki and me. If we like it as much as I hope, I might want to buy it one day. I paused for a moment to gather my thoughts. Lisa, when Nikki and I move upstairs, I want you to join us. You spend so little time at home, it seems unnecessary for you to keep it. There will be plenty of room for you. The house has 3 bedrooms, one for each of us. Having you in our lives makes us better, and having you around all the time would make it even better. I could tell she was thinking hard. What about what's happening between us? Are you asking me to move in so we can be closer? I chuckled a little. Well, yes and no. I mean it when I say we are better with you in our family. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't about us. I enjoyed our moments together, and I like holding your hand and being close to you. It makes me feel things I've never felt before. I leaned over to give her a warm hug, pulling her closer until we were almost nose to nose. I don't want to rush you, but I really like this, Lisa. I like it a lot. I'm open to taking it slow. But now that I've had a taste of being close to you, I don't want it to stop. I leaned in closer, and she met me halfway. Our next kiss was sweet and lasted a while. When we pulled away, Lisa was smiling. She said shyly, "If these are your first kisses, I'd say you're a natural. At least from my view, you're doing great." I touched her arm gently. "I think it's easier to kiss someone you care about." She moved in closer to hug me. "You're smooth, Jason. You say the right things. About moving in, give me a few days to think about it. This is all so unexpected for me, and I still need to process it. We're both facing a surprise change, but it's going better than I thought, and it's because we're doing it together." We started to kiss again, but were interrupted by Nikki's voice from the bedroom calling out, "JJ, I'm awake!" I laughed and looked at Lisa. "Quick, one more kiss before she comes out." She laughed too, and we shared a quick kiss that felt just as nice as the others. We had pulled apart by the time Nikki came skipping out of the bedroom. She saw us on the couch and ran over to climb in between us. As Lisa and I found a cozy spot to fit into, we exchanged smiles. I silently signaled family to her. She reached over Nikki to touch my shoulder and said, "Yes," filling my heart with warmth. The Monday after our zoo trip was a significant day for our little family. It was my first day back at work since Mom passed away, and it was also Nikki's first day at daycare. I had her dressed and ready to go by 9 a.m. in her favorite clothes. We had picked up a backpack for her the day before, and she was excited to show it to her new friends. To her credit, she walked into the daycare without any fuss. I think we did a good job preparing her. I arrived at work by 10 hours and was welcomed back by my co-workers, who gave me a nice gift. They pooled together to give me a $250 gift card for the grocery store where we shopped. I truly appreciated it, as my savings were getting low with all the legal expenses related to closing Mom's estate. We were also getting ready for when the Robinsons moved out, and we moved upstairs into their home. Nikki had formed a close bond with them, especially Paul, so I worried that their moving might affect her more than we realized. We started talking to her about it right away and encouraged her to spend more time with them while they were still around, including one evening when Lisa dropped her off with the Robinsons after a home visit. It was during that first week when I got a call from Lieutenant Pipes at the Lakeside Police Department. She informed me that Mom's death had been officially ruled a homicide and that the State Bureau of Investigation was now involved. She mentioned they had a good idea about who had supplied the harmful cocaine, but didn't share more details. She also said the morgue was done with Mom's body and that I needed to arrange for a funeral home to pick her up. That week I realized it was time for a big change in my life. Before making a delivery at work, I went to wash my hands in the restroom. Looking in the mirror, I didn't like what I saw. I had never paid much attention to my looks, and it showed. I was tall and awkward, and I knew I looked scruffy with my long, untamed hair, even though I brushed it daily. I had also been sporting a beard ever since high school as a form of rebellion. However, it was patchy and didn't suit me at all. After making my delivery, I texted Lisa to see if she could watch Nikki for a few hours on Saturday morning, and she said yes. I found a nearby place to get my hair cut. Unsure of what I wanted, I looked at some examples and chose a style with short sides and back, leaving some on top for styling. I also decided to shave off the beard completely. When I looked at myself in the mirror afterward, I barely recognized myself. After the haircut, I went to a clothing store and picked out a couple of outfits that were nicer than my usual jeans and t-shirts, preparing for future events. I paired my nice slacks with a short-sleeve polo shirt and a black long-sleeve shirt. I wasn't sure where I would wear them, but I knew Lisa deserved to go on some nice dates now and then, and I wanted to look good for her. I was excited to show the girls my new look. I walked down the steps to the apartment and opened the door. I didn't see either of them right away, so I called out, "I'm home!" Nikki was the first to come out. She shouted, "JJ!" and then stared at me for a moment, surprised. Finally, she said, "Wow, JJ, you look different." "Do you like it?" I asked. She smiled and said, "Yes, I do. You look good." Lisa walked around the corner and stopped when she saw me. After a moment, she smiled. Nikki looked at her and said, "Look, Ms. Lisa, JJ got his hair cut." "I see," Lisa replied. "Don't you think he looks handsome?" Nikki nodded excitedly and said, "Yes, very handsome." Then she went back to whatever she was doing before I came home. Lisa slowly walked over to me. She smiled as she brushed her fingers through my hair and gently rested them on my face. She said softly, "Nikki is right. You do look handsome. What made you decide to change your look?" I smiled back and said, "I looked in the mirror this week and thought that if I wanted to be a full-time adult, I should look the part. Is that okay?" She checked to see that Nikki wasn't watching, then kissed me on the cheek. "It's very okay, Jason. Very okay." After that kiss, I realized that while I wanted to look better for myself and for Nikki, impressing Lisa was also important to me. I knew she had some concerns about our age difference, and I didn't want to look too young. We decided we should find Nikki since it had been a little too quiet since she left us. We found her sitting on the floor looking through some of her books. Her face lit up when she saw us. "JJ, will you read to me?" "Of course, Nikki. Should we read on the couch?" "Yes!" Nikki quickly grabbed a book as I sat down. She hopped into my lap and handed me the first book. When I opened it, I noticed Lisa sitting on the other end of the couch, with a happy smile on her face. I started reading to Nikki while she tried to follow along with her finger under each word. I made sure to read at her pace. We had read these books many times, but it was great to see Nikki trying to say some of the words as she moved her finger along. After finishing the first book, Nikki chose another one. I asked, "Would you like Ms. Lisa to read this one too?" She nodded excitedly and went straight to Lisa's lap, her smile growing wider. It was nice to see the connection between Nikki and Lisa. The word family popped into my mind, filling me with happiness and gratitude. I had promised Mom that I would help Nikki, and now I was keeping that promise. We read together for about 30 minutes before Nikki told us she was hungry. We had lost track of time and realized it was well past noon. We all stood up, Nikki to put her books away, and Lisa and I to prepare lunch. I was standing by the refrigerator when Lisa came over to me. "Is the offer to move in with you still open?" "Yes, it is," I said. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. "Great, because what we just did with Nikki in there, I want to be part of that every moment." I turned and hugged her tightly. As we held each other, I whispered, "Thank you for joining our family. Thank you for inviting me. I didn't know life could be this good." We heard Nikki walk into the small kitchen. She saw us hugging and shouted, "I want a hug too." I picked her up and she wrapped her arms around both Lisa and me. I could have stayed like that with my girls for ages, but I knew Nikki would get restless. We set her down and got back to making lunch. I thought about everything that had brought us to this moment. It had been over a month since my mom passed away. During that time, I grew closer to my sister and formed a bond with someone I never expected to meet. It felt like we were meant to come together without any effort. I had never believed in fate, but it was starting to feel real in my life. The day we had feared had arrived, but there was also excitement. On Friday, a small moving truck came in the morning to load the Robinsons' things as they began their new life closer to their grandchildren. Jeanette had insisted on cooking one last meal for us the night before. Lisa was present and said her goodbyes after dinner since she had work the next day. I had gotten permission to be late for work. I stayed with Nikki as we watched the movers. Paul and Jeanette were overseeing everything, making sure their belongings were packed carefully. Soon the workers finished, and they closed the truck door. Nikki and I stood with the Robinsons as the truck drove away. I was happy for them to be near family, but I felt sad. They had taken a chance on me, a lonely 18-year-old with a difficult past, and had supported me so I could bring Nikki into my home. They were the only grandparents Nikki had ever known. I worried that watching them leave might remind Nikki of her own mother's absence. So far, she seemed okay, but I knew we might have to talk about her mom someday. When the truck was out of sight, we turned back to Paul and Jeanette. Paul opened his arms for Nikki, and she ran to him. Their hug was both sweet and sad. Jeanette turned to me. "Jason, you've grown into a wonderful man. Usually we wouldn't have rented that apartment to someone your age, but we saw something special in you, and I'm so glad we did." She stepped forward and hugged me. I said, "I could not have done this without you and Paul. You've made my life so much better. I'll miss you." She stepped back and wiped away a tear. Nikki turned to her, and soon they were hugging too. Paul came over to shake my hand. "Take care of this house for us. It's been a good place for my family, and I know it will be for you too. Call me if you need anything." Nikki and I watched them walk to their car. Just like with the moving truck, we stayed until their car was out of sight. Nikki turned to me. JJ, are you crying? Yes, a little. I'm going to miss them. Me too. But you heard them say we need to come and visit so we will see them again. I hugged her tightly and said, yes, we will. If we are going to miss them, then they will miss us too, and they will want to see us. We held hands as we walked back to the apartment. So far, Nikki seemed to be doing well. I knew that if I could get her to daycare, her new friends would keep her busy and help her not think about the Robinsons leaving. I hoped that my job would keep me busy too. Luckily, I had a full day of deliveries waiting for me when I got to work, which made the day go by quickly. Before I left for the evening, I sent a message to Lisa, telling her I'd bring home pizza, and we would have one last meal in the apartment before moving some things upstairs. I was welcomed by the smiles of both my girls when I got home. One thing I noticed was a packed suitcase right by the door. I had thought Lisa would stay the night while we slept upstairs, but we hadn't discussed it. I wasn't sure if Nikki knew or not, but if she didn't, it would be a nice surprise. We finished eating and started taking things upstairs. Our plan was to wait until tomorrow to move most of the items we wanted. All the furniture in the apartment was staying since it was already here when I moved in a few years ago, and there was also plenty left by the Robinsons. I packed some clothes in a laundry basket for me and Nikki, letting Lisa carry that upstairs while I took her suitcase. Before putting anything away, we decided to explore our new home. We turned on the lights in every room. Nikki already knew which room was hers, and she went straight there, excited to jump on her bed. It still had flowered sheets on it, left by the previous owners. I made a mental note to take her shopping for the sheets she wanted. I also wanted to get a baby monitor for her room. She hadn't needed one while living with me, but I worried that some of the tough things she might have faced before could lead to bad dreams or night terrors. If she had any problems, I wanted to be there quickly. We showed her where the bathroom was, since that would be hers. The light switch was almost too high for her to reach, but she showed us that she could turn it on and off anyway. Even though that would be the main bathroom for guests, I wanted to decorate it in a way that made it feel personal for her. I wanted her to feel at home as much as possible. Next, we went into my bedroom. I wasn't sure if Nikki had ever been in there before because when we reached the bathroom, she was surprised and said, "Look, a bathroom in your bedroom." While she explored, Lisa came closer and asked, "Do you think this bed is big enough for 2 people?" I laughed and replied, "Even if it was just a small bed, I'd find a way to make space for you." She glanced at the bathroom door and gave me a quick kiss. After her question, I felt sure she would sleep with me. Suddenly, I was ready for bed. We made one more trip downstairs to bring up a few more things, including bath supplies. We started putting clothes and other items away. Nikki had a 4-drawer dresser in her room, but the top 2 drawers were too high for her, so her clothes went into the bottom, too. She was happy to show us how she could open and shut them. It took Nikki longer to be ready for bed than usual, but I figured that was just the excitement of our first night in the new home. We decided to skip the bath since we didn't have to wake her up early. After getting her pajamas on, she asked Lisa to read her a story. She picked one of her favorites, but Lisa later told me that the moment her head hit the pillow, she fell asleep instantly. I walked out of the kitchen just as Lisa came out from the hallway leading to the bedrooms. We hugged for a moment, then moved on to some gentle kisses. We paused to turn off most of the lights in the living room, but left one on to help Nikki find her way if she got up during the night. She took my hand, and together we quietly walked into the bedroom, our bedroom. We hadn't discussed what we would do next, but we both understood. When we reached the doorway, she turned to me with a warm smile. I had always seen her as a beautiful woman. She might not agree, but to me, her beauty came from many aspects, not just her looks. At work, she dressed modestly since she spent a lot of time with children. Even on weekends with Nikki and me, she chose clothes that were practical. I liked the times we spent outside when she wore shorts and sleeveless tops, but it was mostly because it was hot. As we hugged more and even shared light kisses, I could sense a deeper connection. Sometimes when she hugged me, I was aware of her closeness. As we got to know each other better, she would playfully bump into me while we worked together in the kitchen. There were also small moments when she would lightly touch my shoulders. Seeing her smile when she read with Nikki or when they did activities together was lovely. Lisa would look up at me and catch the smile on my face as she enjoyed those moments. Those smiles warmed my heart, but the smile she had for me now felt especially meaningful. She gently pulled me into the bedroom, and we decided to keep the door open this first night upstairs so Nikki could find us easily if she woke up. The soft light from the lamp in the living room lit up Lisa's face as she led me in. I noticed her smile was still bright, and I felt a matching smile growing on my face. She placed a hand on my chest to pause me, then reached up to take off her glasses, setting them on a dresser nearby. When she stepped back in front of me, she ran her fingers through my hair, moving to the back of my neck and drawing me down for a kiss. A wave of emotion filled my heart in a way I had never experienced before. As our lips met, I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her closer to me, embracing her warmth. I suddenly felt a strong presence below my waist. It seemed that my emotions were affecting me in more ways than one. Lisa finally let go of my neck and stepped back. The look in her eyes was enchanting. It felt like she shared the same feelings I had. I was ready for another kiss, but she placed her hand on my chest to stop me. "Jason, before we go any further, I need to tell you something," she said softly. "First, I want to thank you for letting me stay with Nikki. When I saw her in your arms that night after your mom passed, my biggest worry was that you would take her away from me, and I wouldn't get to see her again. Because of that, I was a bit rude, judging you before I really knew you. I'm so grateful that you didn't send me away then. I didn't really know what to expect, but when you opened your home to me so I could be with Nikki, I was overjoyed. I couldn't believe I would have more time with that wonderful child. Being with you and Nikki felt so natural. I cherished every moment. Watching her grow brought me so much joy since she felt like the child I couldn't have. Then I began to notice you more, not just as Nikki's brother, but as a father. I know this isn't a typical family situation, but you truly are the father she deserves. I was amazed when you told me you were only 23 because you carry yourself with such maturity and responsibility. You faced a tough situation, and you handled it so well. I didn't come into this expecting to feel what I feel now. Usually, women my age don't get involved with younger men. But you've changed my mind. I know we might face challenges, but I believe we can handle them together because we both care about Nikki and want to give her the best life possible. So, I need to tell you, Jason. I need to say—" She hesitated, but I knew what she wanted to say. I jumped in. "I love you too, Lisa." She ran into my arms again. Each time I held her like this, I loved her a little more. Would there ever be a limit to how much love I could show her? I hoped the answer was no. As she hugged me, she whispered softly, "I was afraid you would think it is silly for a woman my age to love someone your age. I know this because I used to think it was silly too. But the more I am with you and Nikki, the more sure I am that true love knows no age limits. I know this. I never loved my ex-husband as much as I love you. I feel bad to admit that, but it is true. I am yours, Jason, for as long as you and Nikki will let me stay with you." I started to laugh softly. "You have it wrong, Lisa. It is not about whether we will let you stay with us or not. It is more like you cannot go even if you wanted to." She lifted her head and kissed me again. "I will never want to leave you. I love this feeling of love and family that we have, and I want to keep it forever." We hugged and kissed each other one more time. When Lisa stepped back this time, we looked at each other with deep love. We held each other close and shared a special loving moment. I felt a little nervous because this was new for me. Lisa was kind and helped me feel at ease. We took our time and enjoyed the closeness. It was a very special time for us. Our love grew even stronger, and our family felt more complete than ever. As she held me close, she said, "Seeing and feeling this is giving me a lot of confidence." I put my hands back on her as I replied, "Are you kidding? Any man that did not get excited seeing you like this would be silly." She made a soft sound as I held her. "That would be my ex." Once we found out I could not get pregnant, he pretty much stopped trying to be close with me. On the rare occasion he did, he usually could not. When that happened, he would blame me and go straight into the guest room to sleep. It was a real blow to my self-esteem. That is why being with you really makes me feel good. I was in heaven as we stayed close. I wanted to be even closer to her. We took our time to share a special, loving moment. Lisa was kind and patient. We enjoyed the closeness. It was a very special time for us. Our love grew even stronger, and our family felt more complete than ever. Lisa asked me softly, "Where do you want our first special moment to happen?" I smiled, even though she could not see it since her head rested on my chest. My answer came by holding her closer and showing more love. She responded with joy. She moved with me as we shared this close and loving time. Her breathing grew faster and deeper. Between breaths, she whispered things like, "Oh God, that feels so great. Please do not stop." There was no way I would stop. Soon she reached a beautiful peak of happiness. Her body shook with joy. She held me very tightly. I knew this was her first time feeling so much love with someone. It made her feel good about herself again. Lisa leaned heavily on my chest afterward. We stayed close like that for some time. Then she started to relax. I moved back gently. She stood straighter in front of me and gave me the warmest hug I had ever felt. Every second I held her made my love for her grow stronger. When her breathing returned to normal, she pulled my head down. We kissed with deep feeling. She whispered to me, "Oh my God, Jason, that was amazing and so intense." I tried hard to stay quiet, but my body wanted to shout with joy. "Are you sure you have not done this before?" I grinned and replied, "No, that was the greatest thing I have ever felt. I hope we get to share moments like that many more times." She gave a quiet laugh. "I would not mind that at all, though at my age, I am not sure I could handle too many times." We kissed once more. Her body was still warm. She reached for me again. As she held me, she said, "At some point, I want you to feel that same joy, but I have a feeling you want to do something more. Guess what? I want that too." She took my hand and led me to the bed. As she pulled the covers back, I felt full of love. She lay down in the middle on her back. I climbed onto the bed and moved over her. I had dreamed of this moment for a long time. At the same time, I felt nervous. I wanted everything to be perfect for her. She could tell how I felt. She said gently, "It is okay to be close like this, Jason." Lisa said, "You are not going to be too heavy." I lowered my body slowly until I rested gently against her. We held each other close and shared our love completely in the most beautiful way. Being together like this felt more wonderful than anything I had ever known. Lisa smiled at me and whispered, "Do not hold back, Jason. I want your first time to be amazing." I took her words to heart. We made love with growing warmth and closeness. Lisa moved with me as much as she could. Soon, a powerful wave of happiness washed over me. I held her tight as joy filled my whole body. I rested on her afterward, breathing hard. Lisa rubbed my back softly. My mind was full of wonder. Nothing in the world could feel better than this moment. I felt a little worried I was too heavy for her. I started to roll to one side, but she held me in place. "No, stay right here, Jason. This feels great." The strong feelings slowly faded. Clear thoughts came back. I felt a bit shy. That did not last very long, did it? I will try to do better next time. She placed a finger gently on my lips to stop me. "Listen to me, Jason. I knew it would not last long this first time, and that is okay. In fact, that is what I wanted for you. That was the best experience of my life." She explained why. "You are so caring. You always put my needs first. I have never loved anyone the way I love you. With you, everything feels real and full of deep feeling." She told me how different it was from her time with her ex-husband. He had been selfish and never cared if she felt happy. But I was different. I was kind and mature in everything I did. We shared many more hugs and kisses. Holding her after this special time felt even sweeter than before. Soon she let me move gently beside her so I would not be too heavy. "Jason, I think it would be okay if you rolled off me now." I quickly turned to my side and lay on my back. She turned to face me too. Her hand reached out gently and I found myself unable to keep my hands away from her. She said softly, "Jason, You have given me so much joy in these few weeks we've spent together. You don't know how heartbroken I was when I learned I couldn't have children. Things were already tough between me and my ex, and that news made everything worse. I knew it was better to be away from him, but it still hurt to realize I was a woman in my 30s without kids and the chance to have any. But then you gave me the next best thing. You welcomed me into your family, and I've loved being around Nikki because I can tell she is a special girl. I never imagined I would be part of her daily life. I can't thank you enough for this chance to be a mother, even if it's in a different way. I'm still trying to come to terms with being with someone 17 years younger than me. It helps to see that you are a wise young man who carries lots of responsibility. What I'm trying to say is that you seem older than 23, and that makes it easier for me to accept our age difference. Lisa, I don't see you just as a woman of a certain age. I see how much you care for Nikki just like I do, and that's what's most important to me. The love we share has made this unique family feel just right. It's amazing how, through all our challenges, we've created such a happy family. By this time, I was feeling close to her. She smiled and snuggled closer to me. We shared a quiet moment together. I thought she might have drifted off, but then she turned to me and asked, "Jason, should I go into the other bedroom? I'm sure Nikki is going to come in here in the morning not expecting to find me in your bed." I was glad she cared about Nikki's feelings, but I knew how to respond. I'm not going to hide anything from her. She deserves to know what's happening between us. I'm sure it will be interesting to hear her reaction. I think she'll be happy, but we should probably put something on. I'm not ready for a clothing-free home just yet. I'm glad to hear you say that, she replied softly. I'm used to this and don't want to sleep alone anymore. I feel the same way. I'm really attached to you. I found a pair of shorts and Lisa picked out one of my t-shirts, which worked perfectly for her. We hopped back into bed quickly, and I kissed her before she turned away. I don't know who fell asleep first, but it must have been close. JJ, I can't find Ms. Lisa. I've looked everywhere for her. Did she go home? Oh, there she is. What's she doing in bed with you? I had no idea what time it was, but it was bright outside. I wasn't ready to get up yet. I was still tired from the long night before. Her voice had woken us both up. I sat up first, and soon Lisa did too. Nikki didn't hesitate to jump onto the bed with us, quickly snuggling between me and Lisa. JJ, this is a big bed. It's big enough for all three of us. Can I sleep here too? My mind was still a bit fuzzy, so I didn't know how to answer, but I could tell Nikki was waiting for a reply. Well, Nikki, do you know what love is? She nodded. Of course you do. You know that I love you, and I know that you love me. I also know that you love Ms. Lisa, and she loves you too. Is that right? She nodded again. And families should love each other, right? We are a family, even if we are a little different. Do you agree? She looked puzzled. What does different mean? I loved that she wanted to learn. Our family is different because we aren't like most families. You and I don't have a dad. We never did. And our mom isn't here anymore. Our family is just you, me, and someone who takes care of you. That's not a usual family, so it's different. Do you understand? I felt like we would spend our lives talking about our unique family. I hoped she understood that too. Well, JJ, I know you are my brother. But you could be my dad, right? I mean, aren't dads usually older than kids? I couldn't argue with that. Yes, that's true, Nikki, she continued. And Ms. Lisa isn't my mom, but she could be my mom, right? She's older than me. I glanced at Lisa, who was smiling brightly. I turned back to Nikki and asked, Nikki, is that what you want? Do you want me to be your dad and Lisa to be your mom? You and I will still be siblings, but I don't see why we can't be a family like that. I would really like that. Then why don't you go tell your new mom that you love her? If Lisa's smile was big, Nikki's smile was even bigger. She jumped up and rushed over to Lisa. I love you, Mommy. As Nikki hugged her tightly, I noticed joyful tears on Lisa's cheeks. Nikki looked at me and silently thanked me with her lips. I felt that our family was growing closer as Nikki hugged her new mom. Then she bounded over to me. I love you, Daddy, she said as she wrapped me in a hug like the one she'd just shared with Lisa. I wasn't sure if letting Nikki call us Mom and Dad was the right choice, but I knew it might help her feel secure with us. It would also make it easier for others to understand our family if they heard her call us that. Once the name talk was settled, we moved on to the next part of our day. Our main goal was to clear the basement apartment and bring everything we wanted upstairs. I had the job of carrying heavy boxes and other items. Lisa had offered to clean the apartment, so Nikki decided to stay with her. The following week brought two surprises, one that seemed good and another that could be troubling. After I got home from work on Monday night, Lisa was giving Nikki a bath after dinner. While that was happening, I was sitting at the dining room table, looking through shoe boxes I had found in our mom's house while cleaning it out after she passed away. I had forgotten about these boxes until Saturday, when I brought them upstairs with other things. I had only glanced inside to find the name and number of Mom's landlord and had noticed birth certificates and social security cards for me and Nikki. I thought it was a good idea to check the rest of the contents to make sure I wasn't missing anything important. I opened the first box. Inside, I found some old photos of Mom. She looked much younger and different from the Mom I knew. I guess the pictures were taken when she was in middle and high school. She was very pretty back then. It was clear these were from a time before she struggled with addiction. Besides those photos, the box held a few small items like keychains and some ribbons from spelling bees. I had never thought of Mom as a typical person, but these items showed me she once had dreams and hopes like any young girl. The second box had things like old pay stubs and receipts from places I had never heard of. There were also some court papers and a bail ticket. At the bottom, I noticed a simple white envelope that didn't have an address. I picked it up and turned it over. The names Jason and Natalie Sellers were written on it, along with a phone number. Other than sharing my name, I had never heard of them. I quickly opened the envelope to see what it contained. Inside was a letter that read, "Dear Mom and Dad, I'm really sorry for disappointing you. I wish I could go back and make better choices so you could be proud of me, but it's too late. All I can do is try my best in this rehab program to overcome my struggles and find happiness. If I succeed, I want to come back to you and bring your grandson, Jason Jr. He means everything to me and motivates me to work hard. I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me someday. I love and miss you. Rhonda." I realized Jason Jr. was named after my grandfather, whom I had never met. I looked back at the envelope, needing to confirm again that the names were indeed Jason and Natalie Sellers. My mind was racing with questions. Where did they live? Why had Mom never talked about them? Why hadn't they come looking for her? Just then, Lisa stepped out of the hallway. "Our daughter is ready for bed and wants you to come tell her good night," she said. She noticed the confused look on my face. I began to hand her the envelope and letter, but remembered that she had come to find me for a reason. "Let's go say good night to Nikki first, and then I'll show you these," I said. We walked into Nikki's room. She was already in bed and looked like she would fall asleep soon, but she managed to sit up and give me a hug. "Nikki, were you a good girl for Mommy during your bath?" I asked. "Yes, Daddy. I'm always good during my bath," she replied proudly. Lisa nodded. "She's right. She does a great job of getting in and out when she needs to." "I'm so proud of you, Nikki. You are a good girl, and I love you so much." "Good night," I said. "Good night, Daddy. I love you too," she said. Then it was Lisa's turn for hugs and good nights. Once Nikki was tucked in, we left the room and went back to the dining table. "Jason, what do you have there?" Lisa asked as I handed her the envelope. "I think I found my grandparents, and I found this letter Mom wrote but never sent," I explained. As she read it, I noticed her expression change just like mine had when I first read it. When she finished, she looked up at me and said, "Jason, this is so sad. Why do you think she never sent it?" I took a moment to think. I really don't know. Maybe she never felt ready to overcome her struggles enough to send it. It seems this could have been an exercise in rehab. Write a letter to those your struggles have affected the most and keep it. You can look back at it when you're feeling weak again. She set the letter and envelope down. "Those sound like good reasons. So, are you going to call them?" I glanced at my watch. It was 8:45 p.m. "Isn't it too late?" She shook her head. Unless you call in the middle of the night, I'm sure they would appreciate hearing from you at any time, especially about their 2 grandchildren. I took my phone out and flipped the envelope to see the numbers. Checking to make sure I had them right, I pressed connect. After 4 rings, a voicemail started. Hello, you've reached Natalie Sellers. I'm unable to answer right now. Please leave your name, number, and a message, and I'll get back to you. I wasn't sure what to say, but I felt I needed to say something. My name is Jason Sellers, and I think you and your husband might be my grandparents. Please call me back at... I gave them my number and hung up. As soon as I set my phone down, Lisa said, I just thought, when that call came through, it probably showed as Jason Sellers. I bet that confused them. I didn't think about that, but you might be right. That might explain why they didn't answer. A few seconds later, my phone began to ring again. I looked at the name and then at Lisa. It's Natalie Sellers. I showed her the screen and answered, Hello? Hello, is this Jason? Yes, it is. There was a brief pause. Then Natalie said, I'm putting the phone on speaker so my husband can hear too. You think we are your grandparents? Yes, I believe so. My mother was Rhonda Sellers. I went on to tell them that my mother had passed away and that I found their number on an envelope in a box she kept. There was a moment of silence on their end before Natalie spoke. You are right, Jason. Rhonda was our daughter. I am so sorry to hear about her passing. We did everything we could to help her, but she was very set in her ways. Before I could respond, her husband, now my grandfather, spoke up. Jason, are you okay? I know this must be heavy for you. How are you doing? How old are you? I'm doing well. I'm 23. I have a full-time job and have completed 3 years of college, but I had to pause when Mom died. I have a little sister, Nikki, who will be 4 in November. I've been named her legal guardian, and she lives with me and my girlfriend, who is also Nikki's caseworker. I explained how my relationship with Lisa began, but left out details about her not being able to have children. That seemed like something Lisa should share if she wanted to. I mentioned where we lived and said I've never lived anywhere else. Grandma spoke again. We're just a couple of states away. I'm really glad you called, Jason. We'd love to find a way to get to know you. You should also know that you have an aunt and an uncle, and both are married with 2 kids. Now that we know about you and Nikki, that makes 6 grandchildren. I'd love to make that happen. Neither Nikki nor I know who our fathers are, so we've never had grandparents. I know Nikki would be excited to meet you, and I'm sure she would charm you right away. She is really smart and well-behaved. She's also going to remind you of Mom because there were some pictures in the boxes that looked like they were taken when Mom was in middle and high school, and she looked just like Nikki does now. There was a pause in the conversation, and I thought I heard a sniffle on the other end. I could tell this was hard for them, and I hoped that learning about their 2 new grandchildren would help ease their sadness. Finally, Grandma spoke again. Could you send us a picture of you and Nikki so we can see what you look like? You can text it to this number and we'll get it. I knew right away which picture I would share. I'll do that right after we hang up. It will be a picture of me, Nikki, and my girlfriend Lisa from our trip to the zoo. I know Nikki would love to see her new grandparents, so I hope you can send one back. Grandpa replied, Absolutely, Jason. We'll do that right away. I think it would be easier for us to come see you, but we'll need to plan when that can happen. Would it be okay if we visited? I would love to have you come. I've spent 23 years without any grandparent time, and I'd like to change that. I know Nikki will be excited too. That sounds great to me. I'm so happy to know you are out there, and I love your name. We all laughed at his comment. We said our goodbyes and hung up. I quickly sent the picture of my little family to them. It wasn't long before I received a picture back. Even though Grandma was older, I could see the similarity between her and my mom. Lisa moved closer and gave me a hug. That went well, don't you think? They seemed happy to learn about you and Nikki. It was nice, but I can't help but think about all the time we could have had with them. I don't know what happened between them and Mom, but it must have been serious enough for her to keep them away from me. She hugged me tighter. I understand, Jason. We can't change the past, but I hope your relationship with your grandparents will grow and give you both lots of time together. I know they will be proud of the man you have become, and you're right. Nikki will win them over quickly. She was such a support for me. I turned my head to kiss her. You're right. After they meet Nikki, I think we'll see them often. We kissed again, and when we stopped, I could tell Lisa had something on her mind, so she quickly shared it. Speaking of grandparents, I think it's time for my parents to meet you and Nikki. If Nikki is going to call me Mommy, maybe my parents will be her grandparents. What do you think? Do they know about us yet? She smiled. They know I'm seeing someone, but they don't know the details. I haven't told them your age or that we actually have a daughter, even though she's your sister. I pretended to be upset, but she saw right through it. Surely they wouldn't mind that the guy I'm living with is younger. Jason! She lightly hit my chest and got up, heading to our bedroom. I followed her, playfully teasing the whole way. Mommy, wait! Don't run away from me! We had to be quiet so we wouldn't wake Nikki. Once we were in the bedroom, I playfully tackled her onto the bed. It was her turn to be in control. Jason, if you keep calling me that, we won't be able to be close anymore. I'm not a fan of crossing certain lines. That was all I needed to hear. I'll stop, I promise. She rolled to kiss me. That's a good boy. I'll call my parents tomorrow and see if they can come visit. I think I'll wait until they meet you to tell them how old you are. It will be fun to see their reaction when they first see you. 2 days later, I got another surprise. I had just dropped off Nikki at daycare and was driving to work when my phone rang. It was Lisa, and she rarely called me during work hours. Hello? Jason, we might have a problem. Our office just got a notification from the court that someone has filed a claim about Nikki. I wasn't sure what that meant, but I could tell from her tone that it wasn't good. What does that mean, Lisa? It means that a man came to the court today and said he is Nikki's biological father. They let us know because our office has to look into his claim. Since I work here and have a closer connection with Nikki than just being her counselor, a different team will handle this investigation. No wonder she sounded upset. My heart started racing. I didn't expect someone to do this. I thought that being named her legal guardian would put an end to it. Lisa, how likely is it that he will succeed? She quickly responded. There's no need to panic just yet, Jason. A lot has to go perfectly for him to gain custody. One big problem for him is that he hasn't come forward in nearly 4 years. So even if he is her biological father, that will matter. Plus, he must prove that he would be a better parent for Nikki than you and I. The fact that you are her legal guardian will be a strong point in your favor because you are her blood relative. Someone will visit us at home to check if it's clean and looks like a good place for Nikki to grow up. He will have to show that he is almost the best parent in the world for a judge to give him custody. But it's out there, and I suppose strange things can happen. I liked her answer until the last part. So what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen? Her voice softened as she said, We just need to keep doing what we have been doing. Our family may be different, but it is built on our love for each other, and that includes Nikki. I think we'll be fine, Jason. I just had to let you know. We will find out more soon. If I learn anything new today, I'll tell you when I get home. After we hung up, I couldn't stop thinking about it during the workday. Thankfully, we had a light delivery schedule, which gave me more time to think. By the time I got home that evening, I was feeling stressed. Spending time reading and playing games with Nikki and enjoying time with Lisa helped calm me down a lot. It felt like we were juggling so many things that it was hard to keep track of everything. Lisa planned for us to visit her parents' house the next Saturday so they could meet me and Nikki. My grandma had been texting me too, making plans to visit during the Labor Day weekend. One bit of news cleared up was that the local police informed me the state investigation team had arrested several people connected to the crime surrounding my mom. They were involved in drug distribution and had been under suspicion for months. Unfortunately, there was not enough evidence to make arrests before her death. Although they had not gone to court yet, the police and the district attorney were sure they would be found guilty. We could speak at their sentencing if we wanted to. The weekend came, and we got into Lisa's car to visit her parents. Richard and Marlene Welch lived about an hour from the city. Apart from Lisa, they had 2 older sons. The oldest, Eric, was married and had a boy and a girl both in college. The younger son, Alex, also had 2 boys, one in college and one in high school. As we drove, we told Nikki that we were going to meet Lisa's parents. Since Lisa was now her mommy, that meant Nikki could have grandparents too, but we wanted her to ask them. Nikki seemed ready to do that. When we arrived at the Welch's house, it stood out with its neat brickwork and beautiful flower bed between the house and the path to the front door. Richard and Marlene must have been watching for us because they came out before we even got out of the car. They greeted Lisa warmly with big hugs, showing their love for her. Lisa stepped back and introduced me and Nikki, saying, "Mom and Dad, I'd like you to meet my boyfriend Jason and his sister Nikki." This felt a bit odd to me since I was used to being called Mommy and Daddy by Nikki, but then I remembered our talk in the car and knew she was waiting for Nikki to ask her question. Richard greeted me with a handshake, and Marlene went right to Nikki. She knelt down and took Nikki's hand. "Hello, Nikki. It's wonderful to meet you. You are such a lovely girl." Before Nikki could speak, Lisa said, "Mom and Dad, Nikki has a question for you." Nikki glanced at Lisa, who nodded encouragingly. In her shyest voice, Nikki asked, "Could you be my grandma and grandpa?" I could see how much this meant to Marlene. She seemed to glow with joy. "Nikki, of course I would love to be your grandma." She then looked at Richard and said, "You will be Nikki's grandpa, won't you?" Richard knelt beside Marlene, smiling. "Of course, but first I need a hug." Nikki rushed into his arms for a brief hug before turning to hug Marlene, too. Lisa wrapped her arm around my waist and squeezed me tight. I felt happy for Nikki because she needed love from as many people as possible. I was also happy for Lisa because this made her feel even more like a mother to Nikki. We went inside, where Marlene had made lunch for us. In the conversation, we learned that their family was dealing with a small problem. Richard looked at Lisa and me and asked, "How much do you know about renting places in Lakeside?" Lisa turned to me and I replied, "Not too much. I was lucky to find a place after high school. I haven't looked since then." I could see Lisa was a bit puzzled by her dad's question. "Are you two thinking of moving to Lakeside?" Richard chuckled. "No, we love it here. Eric's daughter Jessica has moved to college there, but her housing fell through. She doesn't want to live in the dorms, and it seems like all the rentals are pretty expensive in a college town." At that moment, Lisa and I exchanged glances. She looked at me earnestly, but her face brightened when I nodded in response. Lisa turned to her father and said, "I think we might have a way to help Jessica with her housing issue." She talked about the apartment that I used to live in, which was now empty. It has enough space for her, and the neighbors upstairs will look after her and might even share a meal or two. I could see that Richard was happy. "That sounds great. Can I call them to let them know about this?" I replied, "Of course. I'm sure they want to sort this out quickly. We could probably get started tomorrow if that works for everyone." Richard walked down the hallway and came back with his phone. He pressed some buttons, turning on the speaker. After 2 rings, his son Eric picked up. "Eric, I think we have a solution for Jessica's housing problem. Lisa and her boyfriend Jason have a 1-bedroom basement apartment available in their house right now." Eric's voice came through the phone. "Really? That sounds good. How far from the college is it?" Richard looked at me, so I answered, "Eric, this is Jason, Lisa's boyfriend. It's about 6 blocks from the college. It has its own side entrance, and parking is available on the street, which is very quiet. It's also furnished, so she wouldn't need to worry about getting furniture. I'll let her decide about that. Let me get her... Jessica, can you come here for a minute?" We heard Eric pause before explaining the possible option. "Aunt Lisa has a boyfriend? Lisa, are you there?" "I'm here, Jessica. The apartment is cozy, but it has everything you need. We would love to have you rent it if you're interested." We could hear her excitement. "I'm very interested. Can I come see it tomorrow?" Lisa replied, "Of course. We should be home all day. You can also meet your new cousin, Nikki." There was a brief pause, then Jessica said, "What? I have a new cousin? Dad, why didn't you tell me?" We all smiled as her dad responded, "Because this is the first time I've heard about that." Marlene shared a bit about our situation, though it was probably not enough for them to fully understand. We knew we could explain everything clearly when she came over the next day. They all said their goodbyes, and we returned to our meal. During dinner, I noticed that Richard and Marlene kept looking at me and then at each other. Lisa must have seen it too. "Okay, Mom and Dad, Just so you know, Jason is 23, and he makes me really happy. He's kind and responsible, wonderful with kids, and he's welcomed me into his family, which feels like ours now. He makes me happier than my last boyfriend ever did. You should get used to him because I hope we're together for a long time. Nikki, who had been quiet for a while, finally spoke up. And I love my mommy and daddy. I wasn't sure what Lisa had told them before, but it seemed they were learning new things. I explained the details of my mother's passing and how Lisa became part of our family. We know this is a unique family, but there's plenty of love here, just like in a typical family, and it works for us. I'll let Lisa share her story if she wants to. Lisa quietly said, "They don't need to know about that." I thought about saying it anyway, but decided against it. Marlene changed the subject. "I'll admit that I wasn't ready for Jason to be so young. But you know what? I'm glad to see Lisa happier now than she's been in a long time." Richard chimed in, saying, "If you're the reason for her happiness, Jason, you're always welcome here." I felt the same way. "Yes, Jason and Nikki, we welcome you to our family." After that, everyone felt much more relaxed. Nikki spent a lot of time getting to know her new grandparents. I shared a simpler version of my mother's challenges with Richard and Marlene so they could understand how Lisa and I had come together. We left with a promise they would visit us soon. The next day, Lisa's niece Jessica came with her parents to look at the apartment. She loved it and quickly became fond of Nikki. Lisa and I exchanged glances when we saw Jessica playing with Nikki for the first time, thinking we might have a future babysitter living below us. We agreed on a rental price, hoping Jessica wouldn't throw too many noisy parties, something her parents wholeheartedly supported. Later that night, Lisa and I were in bed, cuddling as usual. In the middle of our cozy moment, Lisa softly said, "Jason, do you realize we'll have a 20-year-old living beneath us?" I replied, "Yes, that's how basement apartments work. Why do you ask?" "Well, you're not going to see her and think maybe I'm too old, are you?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I playfully pulled back the covers and leaned over her. I made a move that surprised her. She looked at me wide-eyed, and we shared a moment that felt new. I felt a strong connection with her, and it made us both smile. We cuddled more closely, enjoying our time together. After a while, Lisa looked at me and said, "Any more questions?" I smiled back, and we shared a tender kiss, feeling happy and connected. I rolled over onto my back, and she followed, resting her head on my shoulder. I was getting ready to sleep when I heard her whisper, "Jason?" "Yes, my dear?" "You can do that again if you want. You can do it whenever." I turned to look at her. Honestly, I was a bit nervous doing it that way. Her look changed. "Why?" "I remembered you saying that your ex sometimes made you uncomfortable, and I was worried that might bring back some bad memories." She leaned in and gave me a gentle kiss. "There's a big difference when there's love involved. You're showing me what it means to feel truly loved, and that pushes away the bad feelings I had before. Now we just need to keep making good memories whenever you want." She turned away, and I understood what she meant. I moved closer until she curled up against me. I wrapped my arm around her, holding her gently. Just before I fell asleep, I heard her whisper, "I love you, Jason." "I love you too, my dear." The next week had two important events for our little family. On Tuesday, a DCF worker was coming to discuss the paternity case. She would arrive at 6 in the evening, so I had to leave work early. My boss was aware of everything and was very supportive. The other big event was my first meeting with my grandparents. I felt excited, but also a little nervous. I knew they had no reason to be upset with me, and I hoped they didn't think I was upset with them. I wanted to have a good relationship with them and hoped they would accept Nikki so we could spend more time together as a family. I got home on Tuesday just after 5:30. Lisa and Nikki had been home for about 10 minutes. We checked the house to make sure everything was tidy. We were sure everything looked good when the doorbell rang a few minutes before 6. Lisa and Nikki stepped back while I answered the door. I found a tall woman dressed in a nice beige suit with a white blouse. She looked a bit older than Lisa, and her smile made me feel at ease. "Hello, are you Jason?" she asked. "Yes, please come in," I replied. "Thank you." She came inside, and I closed the door. She introduced herself. My name is Jackie Peterson. I'm here to talk about the custody request. I'm Jason Sellers. This is Lisa Welch, my girlfriend, and she has been my sister's DCF caseworker since she was born. I thought Lisa would shake Jackie's hand, but Jackie went to her, and they shared a hug. Lisa saw my puzzled look, smiled, and turned to me. Actually, Jason, Jackie and I have been friends for a long time. We go to state meetings together regularly. Jackie, I didn't think they would assign you to this case since we are such good friends. Jackie smiled and said, Technically, I'm meeting the requirements since someone from another office had to take this case. There's nothing against using a friend, and my boss understood that it would be best for you to have me look into this. So here I am. Jackie turned to Nikki and crouched down. You must be Nikki. I know because I heard you are a very special little girl. Nikki stepped forward and shook her hand like she had seen me do. Hello, I am Nikki. Welcome to our home. I looked at Lisa. She just shrugged her shoulders to let me know that Nikki came up with that on her own. Jackie smiled wide as she said, Thank you, Nikki. What a lovely welcome. We moved to sit in the living room. Jackie pulled some papers out of a bag she was carrying. Then she looked over to where we sat on the couch. Nikki sat in Lisa's lap. Basically, this visit is just a formality. Our office is aware of your new situation, Lisa. We are so excited for you. Your dedication to the children has never been doubted. Now you have this wonderful chance to have an instant family. It is amazing how well it has worked out. Thank you, Jackie. I will admit it all came about much faster than I could have predicted. But we really do make a wonderful family. Of course, Nikki is the star of the show. She is doing so well. Jackie smiled and replied, I can tell. It is very clear when a child is loved as much as I believe you and Jason love her. To make this a formal interview, I do have some questions to ask you. Then I will need to look around your house, though I am sure I will not find anything wrong. She asked about our care for Nikki. She made sure we were meeting the needs of a toddler her age. We shared that we were trying to keep her on as regular a schedule as possible. I was not sure that was the case when her mom was still alive. I had Nikki get some of her books to show Jackie. Nikki told her that at least one of us read with her every night. We let Nikki lead Jackie on the tour of the house. When they got to her bedroom, Nikki invited her to sit on the bed with her so she could read her a story. It was not long before we could tell that Nikki had won Jackie over. I looked over at Lisa at the same time she looked at me. We shared a smile. Soon, Jackie let us know that she had all the information she needed. She could tell that even though our family might be different, it was a very loving family. Nikki was in very good hands. As she was leaving, she asked if Lisa could step out on the front porch with her for a few seconds. Nikki and I went into the kitchen to start getting supper ready. Since it was so late, it was going to be something simple like chicken nuggets in the oven and mac and cheese on the stove. After about 10 minutes, Lisa came back inside. She went over to Nikki first and gave her a hug. She surprised me next by coming to me and sharing both a hug and a kiss. This caused Nikki to laugh as she exclaimed, Mommy and Daddy are kissing. When I quietly asked her what she and Jackie had talked about, she responded, I will share with you later. I figured if there was a problem, she might have wanted to talk about it right away. But as well as the visit went, I could not possibly see any problems, at least on our end. We finished our meal and got Nikki bathed and ready for bed. She asked Lisa to read her a bedtime story, so I went to clean up after supper while Lisa read to her. After about 20 minutes, Lisa came to find me. She grabbed my hand and led me straight to our bedroom. Between hugs and kisses, we shared a very special, loving moment. It was full of warmth and closeness. She had never shown me such happy energy before, but I loved the attention she gave me. We made love with deep joy and care. It felt like our family bond grew even stronger in that quiet time together. In a few seconds, she was climbing on the bed straight over my body. I thought she had one plan, but she had other plans. She kept moving until we were close in a new way. We had shared loving moments many times, but never quite like this. Lisa seemed full of need and joy. She lowered herself gently until we were together in closeness. I gave her my best care right away. She moved with me and said softly, Come on, Jason. Make me feel wonderful. I did everything I could for her. She helped with her own happy movements. Oh, God, just like that. Give it to me, Jason. I need this now. She surprised me when she grabbed the headboard with both hands. This let her move with more feeling. I could tell she was close to her peak of happiness. With one last strong move, her joy released. Her body shook in a beautiful way I had never seen before. She let go and moved down against me until our faces lined up. She gave me a deep kiss full of love. I heard her chuckle a bit in the middle of it. When the kiss stopped, she looked down into my eyes. Lisa, what was that? Not that I did not like it because I loved it, but it was such a surprise. She kissed me again and then said, Give me a couple of seconds and I will tell you what it was. She sat up a little. We stayed close as we continued our special loving moment. As we moved together with warmth, she told me about her talk with Jackie. When Jackie and I were talking on the porch, she said how happy she was for me. She knew I would be a great mom. She also told me the man making the claim for Nikki has missed 2 important meetings. It looks like nothing will happen with him. God, I love being close to you like this. Then she asked me a personal question. She wanted to know what it is like being with a much younger man. I smiled and told her it was the best experience of my life. She hugged me and said she was so happy for me. She even said she felt a little jealous. Hearing this made me hold her even closer. Lisa was full of life and happiness. After she said that, I could not wait to be with you. Nobody has ever been jealous of me before. It feels very good. Her joy was too much for me. Lisa, stay close with me. I am about to feel it too. She met me with her own strong movements. We tried to stay quiet as waves of love washed over us. It was perfect timing. With one last deep feeling, we both reached complete joy together. We held each other tight afterward. Our family bond felt stronger than ever. I could feel her body shaking again, telling me she was experiencing a strong moment of joy. While I always enjoyed being close to Lisa, I also appreciated the simpler pleasures. We held each other as our heart rates slowed down. With her head on my chest, I said gently, It seems that being with someone younger brings you happiness. She kissed me and replied, No, it's being with someone who truly loves me that makes me feel alive. But being with a man full of energy is a close second. I am so lucky in many ways. I said, I don't know if luck is the right word. I think everything just feels right. I won't question it. We decided to freshen up in the bathroom. We took turns using a warm washcloth to clean each other. Afterward, we crawled into bed. Facing each other, she kissed me. She softly said, I never imagined I could be this happy, Jason. I can't think of a way to be happier. I kissed her back and replied, Life is good. Everything has come together so quickly. I can't wait to see what the future brings us. She turned around and snuggled against me. We fell asleep quickly after a wonderful day. Once the visit from the Child Services office was finished, we focused on preparing for our guests arriving for Labor Day weekend. Jason Sr. and Natalie Sellers were set to arrive early Saturday afternoon. They planned to stay overnight since we had a guest room. They would head home Sunday afternoon. The house was already clean from Jackie Peterson's visit, so we didn't need to worry about tidying it up again before the Sellers came. We put together a menu for the weekend featuring Lisa's famous lasagna, which she hadn't made for us yet. Saturday came, and we sat on the front porch waiting for our guests. Shortly after 1 p.m., a car we didn't recognize pulled into our driveway. Nikki, knowing who the visitors were, looked at me and asked, Daddy, is that my grandparents? I patted her head and said, I think it is. Do you want to go say hi? She didn't answer, but dashed down the steps. Lisa and I quickly followed. Before we reached their car, Nikki was already talking to them. Hello, my name is Nikki. Are you my grandparents? Grandma Natalie came around the front of the car as Grandpa Jason Sr. bent down. He stretched out his hand, and Nikki took it, smiling widely as they shook hands. Grandpa said, Yes, we are, Nikki. It's great to meet you. We heard you are beautiful, and that's absolutely true. Grandma looked at me with surprise, saying, Oh my, she looks just like Rhonda. She turned to Nikki, saying, Hello, sweetheart. We are thrilled to see you. Nikki instantly hugged her grandma. Always eager to introduce, she pointed at me and said, This is Jason. He's my daddy, but he's also my brother. And that's Lisa. She's my mommy and helps me learn. My grandparents then came over to me. Grandma hugged me, followed by Grandpa. It felt strange to call them grandparents, but I knew I would get used to it. Lisa stepped over, and they hugged her too. We spoke in the yard for a few minutes until I invited them to the front porch. As we climbed the steps, I called out to Nikki. "Sweetheart, why don't you and Mommy go inside? I want to talk to Grandma and Grandpa for a bit. If you choose some books, you can read to them." "Okay, Daddy. Come on, Mommy." "Let's go get some books," I said. Once we were inside, I pointed to the chairs on the porch, and we sat down. Grandpa looked at me and asked, "Jason, how's everything going for you?" "It's going well," I replied. "It's a bit busy at times, to be honest." I started to tell them about the man who claimed to be Nikki's father, but nothing had happened with that yet. Grandma jumped in with her next question. "Tell us about Lisa. It's clear Nikki loves her. How did she become part of the family?" I shared that Lisa was the social worker who helped my mom with Nikki. I hadn't talked about my past or how Lisa and I got involved. "Maybe I should start from the beginning, if you want to know about Mom and how we got to this point." They both nodded, so I began recalling from the earliest days I could remember. I shared how we sometimes struggled to have enough to eat, and how I would save crackers and cereal in my room for the nights when Mom didn't come home. I explained that I learned early on that when Mom was absent or unable to help, my only option was to focus on school. I wanted to do well enough to leave home one day and escape the difficulties we faced. As I spoke, I noticed Grandpa looking down at the porch floor, and Grandma had tears in her eyes. I realized this was hard for them to hear. I still didn't understand why Mom had left and never contacted them after moving out. I doubted I would ever find out. I did my best to share about Mom's life with them. They listened quietly until I finished. Grandma looked at me and asked, "Was there ever a time when she was doing better?" "She tried, Grandma," I said. "She made efforts many times, at least as far as I know. I believe she was clean when she was pregnant with Nikki, and I don't see any signs that might point to issues from her past. I remember her going to rehab at least twice, as I was placed in a foster home during those times. But she could never fully overcome her struggles." I saw tears on Grandpa's cheeks now. He looked at me, his eyes red, and said, "Jason, we tried. We even went to a mental health center to find ways to help her get into rehab as soon as we realized there was a problem. But she wanted to be independent and resisted everything we tried." He continued. "Eventually, we had to set a limit. She couldn't stay with us unless she went to a treatment program. She screamed that we didn't love her anymore, packed a bag, called a friend, and walked out the door for the last time. We searched for her for a while, but we couldn't find her. All we could do was pray she was safe and hope she'd return. Sadly, she never did." I stood up. "There's something you should see. Stay right here. I'll be back in a moment." I hurried into the house and found the box of Mom's things. The letter she wrote was right on top. I came back to the porch and handed it to Grandma. She read it with her hand over her mouth, and when she finished, she passed it to Grandpa, who looked shocked. I can't tell if this was a letter she meant to send to you, or if it was part of something from rehab. The envelope had your phone number on the back, but I know she thought of you when she decided to name me after you, Grandpa. And honestly, I was happy she did. By now, Grandma had the letter in her hand again. She held it out to me and said, "Thank you for sharing this with us, Jason. It's good to know she didn't completely forget about us, even if she never came back. I really wish we could have been part of your life when you were younger. You've done well, and we're glad Nikki is in great hands with you and Lisa." She stood up and hugged me, and Grandpa did the same. As we hugged, I felt that same sense of family I had felt with Lisa and Nikki. I knew this wouldn't be just a one-time visit. They hadn't spent much time with Nikki yet, but I knew once they did, she would win them over just like she had with me and Lisa. "Thank you for coming," I said quietly. "Let's go inside so you can see how wonderful your granddaughter is." We went inside, and Nikki was quick to greet them. She asked her grandparents to come to her room so she could show them her favorite things. She also took them on a little tour of the house, showing them the bedroom where they would sleep. Once the tour was done, Nikki climbed into her grandfather's lap for story time. Just like she had with Lisa's dad and Grandpa Paul, she claimed Grandpa Jason as her new best friend. Lisa headed to the kitchen to start making lasagna. At the door, she turned and motioned for me to join her. In the kitchen, she wrapped me in a warm hug. "Jason, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. It was tough for them to hear about Mom, but I knew they needed to know. Showing them Mom's letter helped. I might let them keep it if it will comfort them." She gave me a quick kiss. "I've told you before, Jason. You've become such a good man. I'm so glad you called your grandparents to be part of our lives. I think it's really working. I have a feeling we'll see a lot of them in the future." "I hope so. They seem like really nice people." When dinner time arrived, Nikki played the role of hostess. She made sure everyone had a seat at the table while we ate. Lisa's lasagna was delicious. We all ate more than we should have. Nikki reminded them again where their bedroom was. We decided to skip Nikki's bath for that night since we hadn't been outside much, and she could take one the next evening. When it was time for bed, Nikki asked Grandma to come read to her. After seeing how much Nikki had enjoyed being around Grandpa all day, Grandma was happy to be chosen. While they read, Lisa and I stayed in the living room with Grandpa. Lisa shared stories about her life and how she became part of Nikki's world. She also talked about our age difference, and Grandpa smiled as if a question he had was finally answered. When Grandma joined us, she said that Nikki had already fallen asleep. She sat next to Grandpa, and Lisa and I noticed they were holding hands, which showed that they had enjoyed the day just as much as we had. There was a quiet moment in our conversation when Grandma spoke up. "Do you think your family could come to our house for Thanksgiving? It would be a chance for you to meet your aunt and uncle and their families. We've told them about you, and they are excited to meet you." I started to mention needing to check with Lisa's family first, but Lisa jumped in. "We'd love that. Count us in. It will be more people for Nikki to meet." Lisa turned to me, placing her hand on my leg. "Right, Jason. Definitely. We would love to come and meet the family." We went to bed that night feeling really happy about the day. There had been some hard moments with Grandpa and Grandma on the front porch, but Mom's letter had finally reached them. After what I had shared with them earlier, they were in a better mood. The next day was more of the same fun. We chose to go for brunch at a cafe close to our house. Grandpa and Grandma were planning to leave soon after lunch so they could get home before dark. Saying goodbye was tough, but we promised to visit each other often, so we knew we would see them again soon. We spent Labor Day Monday at the zoo, thinking it might be our last trip there this year. Nikki was able to last longer this time, probably because she was older and it was much cooler than it had been in July. Lisa ended up buying her another stuffed animal, and we thought this might become a fun tradition every time we visited the zoo from now on. The next day, reality returned. We all had to go back to our regular daytime activities. Lisa had already gone to work. It was around 9 a.m., and I was getting Nikki ready for daycare. Suddenly, my phone rang, which was unusual for that time. I answered it. "Hello, is this Jason?" "Yes, it is." "Jason, good morning. This is Jackie Peterson. Hold on a moment while I connect Lisa." I heard a click, but knew I was still on the line because Lisa's number was still on the screen. About 15 seconds later, the phone clicked again. "Okay, Jason, are you there?" "Still here." "Lisa, can you hear us?" "Yes, I can hear both of you." "Great, I have news for you. Earlier today, we got word from District Court that the case regarding the man wanting custody of Nikki has been dismissed. He missed 3 chances to let DCF check his home, and the judge decided Nikki is where she needs to be. Congratulations! You get to keep being her parents." I let out a sigh of relief at the wonderful news, while I heard Lisa squeal with joy on the other end. I looked down at Nikki, who had no idea about the situation since we hadn't told her anything. It wouldn't have made sense to her anyway. "Thank you, Jackie," Lisa said. I added my thanks too, and then said, "We appreciate the good report about us. The judge must have thought we were good parents, thanks to your report." "Jason and Lisa, we need more parents like you. It was an honor to share the truth. You have a lovely family that deserves to stay together." "We owe you one, Jackie." "Thanks for this great news," Lisa replied. "You owe it to Nikki to keep being a wonderful family." "And Jason?" "Yes?" "When are you going to get a ring on that finger? Bye." She quickly hung up. leaving me disconnected from Lisa as well. I called Lisa right back. Jason, I swear I had no idea she would say that. Relax, Lisa. I just have one question. What's your question? I paused and chuckled a little. What size ring do you wear? Jason, you're not serious. Maybe not right away. But it's good to know for the future. When it happens, you'd better call Jackie to let her know. Whatever. Shall we take our daughter out to eat tonight to celebrate? Yes, that sounds like a great idea. Speaking of our daughter, I need to go. Text me where you want to meet when I get off work. I love you, Lisa. I love you too. Have a great day. I loaded Nikki into her car seat. On the drive to daycare, I thought about Lisa's last words. Have a great day. It had already been a great day, and I knew it would get even better when we celebrated later that evening. It felt like our previous problems were behind us, and we were stronger now. My family seemed ready for a steady life, and I couldn't be happier about it. But I was mistaken. Two things happened, and I wasn't expecting either. Both were good surprises, but I learned that life can be unpredictable. The first surprise came after Lisa and I were chatting in bed before sleep. We hadn't been intimate that night, but we were being playful, and I remember resting my hand over hers when she asked, Jason, you love me, don't you? That's a silly question. Of course I love you. Nikki loves you too. And I love both of you. The best way to show my love is to keep living here, right? Lisa, what's going on? I thought you wanted to stay here. Anything else wouldn't work for me, and I'm sure Nikki feels the same way. Do you want to keep living here? More than anything, Jason. I just wanted to check since we hadn't really talked about it. I tried to think back on our earlier discussions about her moving in. I remembered it wasn't long before we moved upstairs. I couldn't recall the exact details, but I knew I wanted her with us. Lisa, I want you to live with Nikki and me for as long as we are together. No matter where we are, I want us to stay together forever. She kissed me and said, I accept. Now it's official. I kissed her back and laughed, calling her a silly girl. We fell asleep soon after, and by morning I'd forgotten our talk. I didn't think much of it for the next few weeks. Everything seemed normal, and I noticed no changes in her. But one night after work, I sensed something was different. After we put Nikki to bed, Lisa surprised me with a big hug from behind. This was usual, but this time it felt special. I turned around, and she had a huge smile on her face. Jason, I did something today, and I can't wait to tell you. She handed me a check that looked important. It was made out to her, but the surprise was the amount. It was for $115,000. I was shocked. Lisa, what is this? She seemed so excited, nearly bouncing. Well, I sold my house. Remember I asked if I would stay with you? I realized we didn't need two homes, and our place is much nicer than mine. I put it on the market, and with the market being so busy, I had offers in 2 days and closed quickly. I bought this house for $70,000 in 2016 and sold it for $120,000. That's a great profit. It made sense why she was so happy. That's amazing, Lisa. Make sure to deposit it safely so we can use it wisely. She kissed me and said, Jason, this isn't just my money. It's our money. It will go into our savings account. The first thing we'll do is pay for your last year of college. I know it's too late to do this year, but I hope you can sign up in September next year, so you can finally finish your degree. Lisa, that's not fair. It's your money. She kissed me again. Okay, if you want to see it that way, this is how I want to use my money. But Jason, there's no more mine and yours. I love you. This is for us to use together. If that means paying for your last year of college, we can do that. If we want to save some for Nikki's education, we can do that too. Or if we want to put it toward a down payment on this house when the Robinsons are ready to sell, that's fine too. Before you came into my life, I wasn't very happy. You have brought joy back to me. You chose to let me be a part of your family, and I'm thankful for that. I'm happier now than I've been in a long time, and since sharing this with you makes me happy, you'll have to accept it. I hugged her tightly and said softly, Well, if it makes you happy, then of course we're going to do it. She responded, You know what else makes me happy? Her question made me laugh. I have some guesses. Should we see if we are both thinking the same thing? I let go of the hug, and Lisa quickly pulled me toward the bedroom. As we walked in, I said, "What do you know?" "Same idea." We spent some sweet moments together enjoying each other's company. The second event was a big surprise for both of us. Part of the reason was that I was still getting used to living with Lisa, and I hadn't picked up on things that someone who lived together longer might have noticed. Looking back now, I realize her mood changed, except for when she mentioned selling her house. Even now, I find it hard to remember what she was like then. A couple of weeks after my grandparents visited, Lisa seemed thoughtful. I knew her job was tough, and she saw many difficult situations while working with families in need, so I assumed that was why she seemed off. I knew she couldn't share details, so I didn't ask about her work. But I tried to help with chores around the house to ease her mind. I took care of Nikki's bath and put her to bed for 4 straight nights, although Lisa would come in to read to Nikki before she slept. On that 4th night, after we left Nikki's room, Lisa stopped me to give me a hug, resting her head on my chest. I held her and waited for her to speak. She finally looked up at me, but I couldn't read her expression. She kept her arms around me and said softly, "Jason, I've missed my period. I'm 2 weeks late, and that's unusual for me." I remembered learning about this in school, but I didn't know much, so I asked, "What does that mean?" "It could mean a few things, Jason. It could mean that something is off in my body, or it could mean—" She stepped away and walked to the kitchen counter. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small paper bag. She came back and handed it to me. It was a 2-pack pregnancy test. My eyes widened as I looked at her. "Lisa, does this mean you might be pregnant? I thought that was not possible." "So did I." I don't understand how this could happen, but I decided to buy the tests. If I'm not expecting, we can start to find out why I missed. I asked her, "Have you taken the test yet?" She replied, "No, I couldn't do it with Nikki around. I wanted to wait until you were here." She opened the box and read the instructions. This was new for both of us, and she wanted to make sure we knew what to do. After she finished, I asked, "Do you want me to get a cup, or can you do the test directly?" "I think I can do it on the test," she said. She took one test out and went to the bathroom, and I looked away as she did what she needed to do. She laughed and said, "You don't have to turn away." "It's okay. It might be easier for you this way," I replied. I heard her start but then stop. She held the test just as the instructions said. Then she put the cap back on and we waited. The instructions said we'd have results in 3 minutes or less. While we waited, she stood up and put her pants back on. 3 minutes felt like a long time when you are waiting for results. There was a little window on the test that showed us the progress. We leaned over the cabinet, waiting. I wrapped my arm around her and pulled her close. Suddenly, the meter disappeared, and the result showed pregnant. Lisa whispered, "Oh my God," covering her mouth. My mind began to race. How could she be pregnant if she thought she couldn't be? Was this test correct? Would I really be a father? I turned my focus back to Lisa, who looked stunned. I realized she might be having the same thoughts I had. I lifted her chin and gave her a gentle kiss. She put the test down and hugged me tightly. We held on to each other for a moment. After a bit, I said, "If you're like me, you have a lot of questions right now." "I do, and I don't even know where to begin. I didn't think this could happen, but I bought the test just to be sure. But now—" I interrupted her. "Let's sit in the living room and talk in a comfortable space." I took her hand and led her to the couch. It had recliners on either end, so I sat back with my feet up. Lisa settled onto my lap, resting her legs on the couch beside me, leaning her head back against my shoulder. I kissed her cheek. "Let's talk about a few things. I really hope this is true because having a child with you makes me so happy. But I also want to be careful in case this is not accurate. I wasn't sure what you'd think. To be honest, I'm still trying to figure it out." I thought I felt a tear on my shirt. "Are you serious? I've seen how wonderful you are with Nikki, and I know you'd be an incredible mother with this new baby. I can't help but feel excited. This feels like a miracle." For the first time, she smiled. "It sure does feel like a miracle. I still don't understand how this happened." "I've been thinking about that too. Remember when you told me about not being able to get pregnant? Did you ever see a doctor to find out why?" She shook her head. My ex said it would be a waste of money since he had a good test result. Did he ever show you those results? Or did he just tell you and stop you from getting tested? She took a moment to think, and then said, No, he didn't. I never saw any test results. I just trusted what he said. Do you think he was lying? I placed my hand gently on her leg. You should consider that. I haven't met him. Was he the type to tell such a terrible lie just to hide the fact that he couldn't have kids? She quickly replied, Yes, he was that type. He could be really hurtful, but even this seems worse than usual. He would never admit he had a problem. It had to be me. I nodded. I think there are two possibilities. He might have been unable to have kids from birth, or he might have had a procedure before meeting you, which would mean he never wanted kids. If you talked about wanting kids before you were married, he lied just to keep you from leaving. As I spoke, her feelings shifted from confusion to anger. That person. I don't know why I didn't insist on seeing the results. I do know why, though. He would have shouted at me for not trusting him. I want to make him feel the same hurt he caused me, thinking I could never have my own children. Take it easy, Lisa. I hate that he caused you this pain, but there might be a silver lining. She sat up straighter and looked at me with curiosity. How could there possibly be a silver lining after all I've been through? I gently pulled her back down beside me. I have a question for you, and it's not about your past. After your divorce, did you date anyone before we got together? No. I pretty much stayed away from men after I left him. Why do you want to know? I replied, Because you didn't have anyone else until I came along. I see this as a sign that the universe wanted you to be with someone who truly loves you before you had a child. I watched her anger fade, replaced by the smile that warmed my heart. You're right, Jason. Oh my gosh, we're going to have a baby. She kissed me. After the kiss, I said, You know our little family is special? Here's something fun. Nikki will be the aunt of our new baby. Lisa sat up and wrapped her legs around me. I love our little family, Jason. I'm glad the universe made me wait until I could have your baby. Our baby, my dear. Our baby. She leaned in for another kiss. Jason, take me to bed and let's be together. We stood up and went to the bedroom, where I made her wish come true gently, surrounded by love and sweet words. We didn't bother cleaning up after we finished. Instead, we embraced each other and drifted off to sleep, feeling very happy. Lisa got up first the next morning. We agreed she should take another test. About 15 minutes later, she returned to me with the results. This test also showed pregnant. See, if these tests are 99% accurate and you do 2 tests, does that mean 198% accuracy? I joked. She kissed my cheek. I think you might be a bit off with your math. I'll start looking for a doctor today and set up an appointment. Let me know when it is. I want to go with you for everything during this pregnancy, I said. She smiled. That sounds great. Lisa was able to get an appointment for a couple of weeks later. At that appointment, the doctor confirmed that she was indeed pregnant. We did some calculations and realized our new baby would arrive around the start of June. We waited until the doctor confirmed the good news before telling Nikki. That evening, we let her pick where to eat, and she chose a family restaurant with a play area and games. While we enjoyed our meal, I had a question for her. Sweetheart, we've had so much fun growing our family. We added Mommy, who loves you dearly, and we have grandparents, too. Our family is getting bigger, don't you think? Yes, Daddy. We have a great family, she replied. So, if we were to add someone else to our family, who would you want? Is there something we don't have that you wish we did? Nikki took a moment to think, and then answered softly, Well, I'd love to have a puppy. That wasn't the answer I expected. A puppy? That doesn't quite fit because I asked about adding someone, not something. If I had said something, then a puppy would have been fine. She hesitated for a moment, looking a little shy. I don't know if this is possible, but I would really like a little brother or sister to help take care of. Lisa smiled and gently touched my leg. When she met my gaze, I nodded, giving her the go-ahead to share the news. Nikki, how much do you want a baby brother or sister? I asked. A lot, she grinned. Lisa leaned in closer. Do you know what pregnant means? Suddenly, Nikki's eyes widened. Does it mean someone is going to have a baby? Yes, you're very clever, I said. I'm going to have a baby, and it will need your help to grow smart just like you. Nikki's excitement took over, and she blurted out a bunch of questions all at once. When is the baby coming? Is it a brother or sister? What will the baby's name be? Can the baby sleep in my room? Do we need to go buy toys? Lisa and I both laughed. Whoa, Nikki! Slow down! The baby will arrive around early June, so we still have about 8 months to go. We don't have all the answers yet, but we will soon. Nikki couldn't contain her excitement. I wish it was June already. I want to know if it's a brother or sister. I'm so excited. After dinner, we headed home. I told Lisa I would handle Nikki's bath and bedtime routine. I wanted to keep a special surprise for later that night, with Nikki playing a big role in it. Once Nikki was dressed and her hair looked nice, I sent her to find Lisa and asked her to lead her mom to our bedroom. As I walked from the bathroom to the bedroom, I heard Nikki guiding her mom perfectly. Mommy, Daddy needs you right away. Come with me. I heard Lisa rise from the couch. What's wrong, Nikki? Where is he? Just come with me and you'll see. With Nikki leading, Lisa reached our bedroom door and gasped when she saw me down on one knee. Nikki bounced with excitement. Mommy, Daddy needs to ask you a question. Lisa brought her hands to her face as she stepped closer. I opened a ring box and said, Lisa, I love you with all my heart. You are the perfect partner for me, helping to raise our daughter. And now, you get to be a mommy again. I know you'll love the new baby just like you love me and Nikki. We didn't get married when Nikki came to us, and that's okay. I want to be married to you when the new baby arrives, and I hope to stay married to you for all our lives. Lisa, will you marry me? Yes, of course I will. I love you so much. I gently put the ring on her finger, and we shared a kiss. We felt Nikki trying to hug our legs, so we paused, and I bent down to lift her up. We embraced again, a lovely group hug, celebrating a new baby and our upcoming marriage. As time passed, we celebrated Nikki's 4th birthday early in November at Lisa's parents' house, joined by Lisa's older brothers and their families. We went to my grandparents' house for Thanksgiving and met my aunt and uncle and their families. Just as we thought, Nikki won everyone over during our 2-day visit there. By then, Lisa had started to show, which lifted everyone's spirits. After the new year, we decided to have a simple wedding at the courthouse. I asked Lisa if she wanted a big wedding, and she replied, No, I had that once, and it didn't work out. I'm happy with something small, just family. Her family came for the ceremony, including her brothers and their families. One touching moment was when Lisa had vows to share with Nikki. After the wedding, we took everyone out to a steakhouse where we reserved a party room. It was a magical night, one of the happiest of my life. In February, I received a wonderful surprise. I was called into the office by the warehouse manager at the furniture store where I worked. He informed me that I was being promoted to a new role in the warehouse. This meant a nice raise, but the best part was my new schedule from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now, Lisa could take Nikki to daycare, and I could pick her up, giving us more time together in the evenings. That month, we also learned whether our baby was a boy or girl. We had fun coming up with potential names we all liked. Nikki enjoyed it too, often suggesting names inspired by her stuffed animals and dolls. After a lot of thought, we chose Abigail Rose for a daughter and Jared Welch for a son. I thought it was meaningful to use Lisa's last name as our son's middle name, since her parents had been so supportive during difficult times in her first marriage. We made sure to schedule the last appointment of the day so we wouldn't miss too much work. The technician was young but seemed experienced. She gently moved the sensor over Lisa's growing belly, stopping now and then to take pictures and measurements. She paused when the baby's heartbeat came into view, and I felt Lisa squeeze my hand tightly. The technician asked, "Do you have a boy's name and a girl's name picked out?" I let Lisa answer, "Yes, the baby is either Abigail Rose or Jared Welch." "And are you sure you want to know the baby's gender?" Lisa replied firmly, "Yes, we want to know." The technician froze a picture on the screen and used the computer to draw a red circle. Looking at us, she said, "Inside that circle tells me your baby is..." Jared Welch. Congratulations, you're having a boy. Lisa and I exchanged looks, and I saw tears of joy on her face. I silently mouthed, I love you, and she returned the gesture. The technician assured us, this report will be reviewed by a doctor, but everything looks normal and healthy so far. You'll receive a complete report by next week. After Lisa adjusted her top and slacks, we hugged and kissed each other. As we walked to our cars, Lisa asked, are you okay with having a little boy? I would have been happy either way, I replied. I'm really excited to get to know him. I can't wait for June to arrive. After that visit, we focused on making sure everything was going well with the pregnancy. Lisa's doctor never directly said she was high risk, but since Lisa was having her first baby at an older age, they decided to schedule weekly appointments starting in the 7th month. She also needed 3 more ultrasounds and many tests throughout the pregnancy. We were both a bit nervous about what we might learn, especially since this was our first time. We followed all the doctor's recommendations carefully. They even put Lisa on a special diet, which I made sure we stuck to. I had never eaten so many vegetables. As June approached, the doctor suggested that Lisa should have a C-section and that it would be best for her not to carry baby Jared for the full 40 weeks. She mentioned that Jared would be fine as long as he was born after the 38-week mark. We looked at the calendar, and Lisa pointed out that my birthday was on May 28th. She thought it would be a wonderful gift to share the day with our son, but I felt it wouldn't be fair for Jared to share a birthday with me. He deserved his own special day. So we decided he would be born on May 26th. Setting that date made it feel even more real that we were about to become parents. Finally, May 26th arrived. We dropped off Nikki at daycare early in the morning. We had told her about what was happening and that she would see Mommy again once baby Jared was born. I knew she would chat a lot at daycare that day, especially with her brother on the way. Then, we headed to the hospital for the scheduled C-section at 11:45 a.m. I stayed with Lisa until it was time for her to get ready for surgery. When they wheeled her away, someone took me to a changing room so I could put on hospital scrubs. After getting changed, I waited for someone to come and get me. It felt like a long time sitting in that small room, and I started to feel a bit anxious. Finally, someone came to get me. I followed her to the surgery room. To the left, I saw Lisa, covered with linens so she couldn't see much. A small stool was placed next to her head, and I was told to sit there. When she saw me, Lisa smiled brightly. I had to wear a surgical mask, so I couldn't kiss her, but I reached for her hand. She squeezed it right away, and I felt her love in that simple action. The surgeon and an assistant entered the room with the operating nurse. The surgeon explained how long the procedure would take and asked if we had questions. I was so amazed by everything happening that I just shook my head. "All right," the surgeon said. "Let's bring this baby into the world." During the surgery, Lisa and I didn't speak, but our eyes met, and that connected us with love. I could hear the surgery team chatting, and everything seemed to go as planned. In just a few minutes, the surgeon said, "It's time to bring him into the world." A moment later, we heard Jared cry. The surgeon checked the clock and announced, "Time of birth, 12:04 p.m." Hearing that made Lisa cry happy tears. She looked at me and said softly, "I love you so much." Even though I had a mask on, I responded, "I love you too." A nurse approached us and said everything was going well and that they were cleaning up Jared. After about 10 minutes, they brought Jared to us for the first time, wrapped in cozy hospital blankets. The nurse asked me to hold out my arms toward Lisa. When I did, they placed Jared in my arms so Lisa could see him better. After another 10 minutes, baby Jared was taken away. The nurse explained that Lisa needed some time in the recovery room. I would be taken back to change out of my scrubs and get dressed again. Then, I would wait in Lisa's room for her and Jared to return. I lost track of time as I waited, but it felt like forever. Finally, the door opened, and Lisa was wheeled in with Jared in a small crib beside her. When Jared was brought to her, she held him close to her face. I took out my phone and quickly took a picture of them together and sent it to family and friends, including the daycare so Nikki could see her little brother for the first time. The afternoon felt dreamlike. A nursing specialist helped Lisa with feeding Jared, And when it went well, Lisa had tears of joy. I was thrilled for her to experience these special moments she thought she had missed. Eventually, it was my turn to hold Jared. The nurse took a picture of us together, which I sent to our family and friends. I watched his tiny fingers and gently opened them with my pinky until he grasped it. This moment reminded me of Nikki when she was born. Soon, it was time to pick up Nikki from daycare and bring her to meet her new baby brother. She was so excited to see me, knowing we were going somewhere special. I reminded her to be quiet in the hospital because some people needed to rest. I trusted she would understand. When we entered Lisa's room, Nikki quietly rushed over to her bedside. Lisa was holding Jared. I lifted Nikki so she could see her new brother better. Nikki looked at Lisa and whispered, "Mommy, are you so happy?" Lisa replied, "Yes, Nikki, I'm very happy." "Isn't Jared handsome?" "He's the most beautiful baby in the world," Nikki exclaimed. I gently placed Nikki on the bed between Lisa and the side rail, creating a cozy spot for her. I took Jared from Lisa and set him down carefully between them. The picture I took of my 3 loved ones became one of my favorites. A nurse came in and helped me kneel by Nikki, snapping a photo, our first picture as a family of 4. Lisa and Jared stayed in the hospital for 2 nights. When we brought them home, our family felt complete. That first night at home filled me with love, peace, and calm. I peeked in from the kitchen and saw Lisa sitting on the couch, feeding Jared, while Nikki sat beside them reading a book to her brother. That beautiful feeling has stayed with me and renews every night when I come home from work. We may be a different kind of family, with a dad who is also the brother of his lovely little girl, a mom who isn't related to the little girl, and a baby who is actually the nephew of his sister. It works for us because love is strong enough to handle anything different. Another thing we sometimes talk about is the age gap between me and Lisa. It usually happens like this. We're at the grocery store, with Jared in his carrier attached to the cart that Lisa pushes. Nikki is walking beside me, holding my hand. Someone might approach Lisa and ask, "Are these your grandchildren?" Lisa smiles and answers, "No, they are my children, and that nice young man isn't my son, he's my husband." There's often a brief pause as the kind stranger thinks about what Lisa just said. Before they can respond, Lisa beams and adds, "Yes, it's different, but it's really great." She's right. Everything about our family is special, except for the love we share. And it truly is great.